Notice of the October meeting was posted on the website on October 5th, 2017, on the Real Estate Commission's website. Notice of the public disclaimer was read into the record on October 5th. Okay.
Although the chair is sad enough to take her out of this here, go ahead and follow this.
Chairman Gary Bloom.
Here.
Chairman Rick Douglas. Chairman Marcia Franks.
Here.
Chairman Diane Hills.
Here.
Chairman Johnny Horn.
Here.
Chairman, I'm saying Chairman, I am sorry. Commissioner Austin McMullen.
Here.
Commissioner Fontaine Taylor.
Here.
Commissioner Bobby Wood.
Here.
Chairman John Grease.
Here. All commissioners present. All of those swear to dang it. So with that said, let's do this. John, if you'll give us some invocation, lead us in the pledge, then introduce Mayor Coppinger for us. Okay?
Let's pray. Father God, we do thank you for the opportunity to come together to do the business of the people. We pray that you would give us clarity of mind, stoutness of heart, but most of all, Lord, that we would respect the Constitution, respect each other. We pray for the tragedy out in Midwest, that it would be, your hand would be upon them, the storm victims, and we just ask, Lord, that you would bless them in a special way. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please stand.
Before I give the pledge, I would like to share with you a small story I got from John McCain. That when he was in prison, there was they wouldn't let him salute the American flag in the morning, and they had a sergeant that had a flag sewn in his jacket in the line. And every morning he'd take that jacket off and hang it on a chair so that everybody could see it. And everybody would go through the pledge. They caught him and they beat him up beyond recognition. Eyes was swollen, he couldn't hardly see, but yet he wanted somebody to hold a flashlight so that he could sew it back in his jacket again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Johnny, let's have that $5 introduction.
Oh, yes, sir. Wouldn't miss that for nothing in the world. There is several people that is worthy of being introduced today. But one I've been known for a very, very long time. That's Mayor Coppinger. I knew him when he was pulling the little red wagon, and then I knew him when he was fire chief. And then after that, we watched him grow as the county mayor. And that's one of the legislations that I feel like I can come and talk to at any time. I feel look at him as a friend more than a governor, mayor. But anyway, it's my pleasure to introduce to some, present to others, Mayor Jim Coppinger.
Thank you, Commissioner Horn. Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, it's a pleasure to be able to address you this morning. It's a privilege, and also welcome to our county. I know you spent the night here last night. I hope you spent a lot of money here while you were here. And Commissioner Horn is exactly right. We go back a long way, so you always want to keep those people really close to you. They know where all the bodies are buried. So It's good to see Johnny in this capacity, and again, we certainly appreciate all that he does in our community every day to make it a much better place to live. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that the realtors that I have opportunity to work with that come to every commission meeting, it's Christy, who's not here, is one that does, but Ron does as well, and certainly appreciate that, and certainly Mark Hyatt and what he's involved with here with the realtors, and our very own Hamilton County Commissioner, Greg Martin, who is also a realtor. So we're well represented here today, and appreciate them all being here, although I know they got probably some role to participate. I always say this about realtors. I know you're here to hear complaints or whatever, but the thing that for a mayor, the reason that the realtors are so important to us, you really are the first ambassadors to our community. You're the first people when people are coming to the community to live permanently. They make contact with a realtor, right? So you're the ones that's really selling the community, telling people where to go. And you're also the ones that are true indicators of whether we know the economy's doing well or not, whether or not the market's moving houses. So again, for the ones of us that are in administrative positions in government, it's really important to us, the feedback we get from the realtors, and that's something that we're really proud of that we have here with Ron and Mark and Christy and Greg, telling us and keeping us informed about what's going on in the market. So it's really important to us. We're really proud here in Hamilton County. Since 2010 census, what they tell us is that we've grown by about 17,000 people in our population. That's extremely important to us. It should be important to realtors. They have to live somewhere, right? Our building permits are up substantially this year from last year. That's good news. And when we look at what we've done just in August with what the permits were for that were issued, what we know is there was $149 million in permits for hotels alone here, and about $10 million in residential. So again, we're someplace that's growing. We're someplace that realtors should be very much interested in, and we think there's a good reason for that. It's not just what you see when you see the natural beauty here, but it's also the things that we're trying to increase the quality of life here. We're doing that. Our local commission just approved $100 million in additional funding to our public schools. We're second only to Williamson County in the amount of local dollars that go into Williamson County cheerleader, right? But we're second to only Williamson County in the amount of money of local dollars that goes into our public school system, something we're extremely proud of. And like Williamson County, because Hamilton County is considered a wealthy county, we don't do very well with the BEP formula, so we don't get as many state or federal dollars, but we're really proud of what we were able to do here locally. We also made an announcement, and again, our local legislative body presented an opportunity for us when they approved our recent increase in revenue to build a $45 million sewage treatment plant. What this is going to do, it's projected that we're going to need 10,000 additional lots in Hamilton County by 2022. So this I almost let the cat out of the bag. We hope that it will become more of a regional facility. But this initial facility that we're building, treatment plant on the northwest part of the county, will present a tremendous amount of opportunity to do that in Hamilton County. But it will also, we hope, long-term help Meigs County, as well as the southern portion of Bradley County. So again, we like partnering, and we like the economic growth that we have here, which helps create jobs. One of the things, and I'm getting close to finishing up, but one of our brag points is the fact that during my tenure as mayor, which started in 2011, we've been able to create over 14,500 new jobs. That's been really important to us. It equals to about $2.1 billion in additional growth here. So again, we're really extremely proud of that and the investments that have been made here, and we're looking forward to continue to sustain that momentum. Again, I want to welcome you here. I hope it's a pleasant day that you have. You got a tough job. Show of hands, how many are from East Tennessee? So you're good. Nick, come on, Johnny, you're from East Tennessee. So how many are from West Tennessee? You have no hope of making it home tonight. So enjoy another stay with us. Again, we're really proud of our downtown. You know, Hamilton County is really, and maybe it's true in your counties as well, but about any project that you see that's happening in downtown Chattanooga is a result of a partnership between the city government of Chattanooga County, Hamilton County government, and in many instances the state. But we're really proud of the partnership we have with the city of Chattanooga. There's 10 municipalities in Hamilton County, but the largest being Chattanooga, which is a little less than 50% of what we have in terms of square mileage and population. We're a population of 357,000 in this county, but in order for us to have continued growth, it's really important that we have a vibrant city of Chattanooga. So we invest, county government, the taxpayers here invest quite a bit in our downtown Chattanooga to make sure that we keep that, you know, a vibrant place to live. And as I tell all of my colleagues and my good friends in the other 9 municipalities, you too want Chattanooga to be successful because you too are benefiting from that as well. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be here and enjoy your stay.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Thanks for the comments. And by law, we have to meet in East Tennessee at least once a year. But the state gives us no money for any kind of facility rental or equipment rental. So the fact that your county, and you in particular, allowed us to come here at no charge to conduct this meeting is most appreciated. And it's likely we hit Chattanooga once every 3 years. Don't have to, but it's hard to beat this place as far as the hospitality shown to us by the Realtor organization and
Yes.
by the hospitality your government has shown us as well. Now, one quick question. Do you think we should let Greg or Commissioner Martin say a word or two?
Sure, but I would limit him. He's a former pastor. He's a very talkative individual, so you might want to limit him as well. Thank you for your kind words, and you're always welcome back. And there's a number of people on the commission that's kind enough that make this room available to a number of different organizations that meet here at the state level, at the federal level, and at the local level. So you're always ready to do that. And I agree with you 100% about the representation we have with realtors here in Hamilton County. They do a phenomenal job, and as I said on the very beginning, and never take it lightly, all realtors should understand that they are, the ambassador. They are that first contact that people have, and they're the ones that are telling them where the better schools are, if that's what they're looking for. They're the ones that are telling them, if they want a downtown living experience, the places to go. And we're so grateful that we're so well represented by realtors. Thank you.
So, Mayor, sorry, yeah. So, are you going to say anything, Commissioner? I hope you do, but in case, so if anybody wanted a photo opportunity, we're available for that if it will help a social media website or realtor. Is there any desire? If not, we'll just keep on moving. But I
would say Natalie's already taken advantage of getting some photo ops.
So are you okay, Natalie and Ashley? Are you okay? Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Commissioner Martin, come up to the podium. Give us.
And you can find ours. We're a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can tell Natalie's a lot younger than I am, so she knows all this. But and it'll be up within a few hours, and it's just hamiltontn.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
I reminded our commissioners the other day that the town of Harrison across the river here was named for William Henry Harrison, who had the distinction of having the shortest presidency of 31 days, and he had the longest inaugural address of 2.5 hours. Doing the math is don't speak long. And it is a joy to welcome you here today, and I am a realtor here. I was in the cemetery business for 20 years and loved that business, and got into real estate and followed my mom in her office that she worked at, that she retired at. So I tell people I've gone from selling acres to inches, and I enjoy that. We do want to welcome you here. Real estate, the mayor put it so accurately, is that real estate really are the first ambassadors to people in our community. We have great things happening here. I believe there's 6 hotels that are going up right now in Hamilton County, and that just means more jobs. Our tourism has grown from $500 million to $1 billion in the last 15 years. And so we just have all kinds of things. And just there's story after story of people who've come to Chattanooga, who've come to Hamilton County for the Ironman and some of these other great events and just fallen in love with the place, found a Mark Hyde or a Ron Tucker or someone and said, help me find a place where we can move. And that story has been replicated over and over and over in our community. And so we're very proud of our conservative government. We have probably more people, well, not probably, we have more people working today in the state of Tennessee than ever in the 221 years of history in Tennessee. And that's perhaps magnified at no greater place than Hamilton County. We all know about the great economic success with Volkswagen and Bacher and some of these other things, but we also have small businesses, which are really the engine, the economic engine. And I want to thank you for what you do and taking your time. I would imagine that this is not one of those high-paying jobs that you have in life. So I want to thank you for your service and what you do for our industry and what you do for our community, because I know that the economic engine is what's really important to keep things going, and I know that happens a lot because of what you do. So I do want the record to reflect that I spoke at a shorter amount of time than Mayor Coppinger. Please make sure that that's noted. Again, thank you, and we welcome you today.
We appreciate the hospitality for sure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the agenda. You have an agenda in front of you. Are there additions, deletions, corrections? Ms. Franks.
Yes, I would like to add, wherever you would like to put it, a little discussion about the Arello annual conference that I attended.
If it's okay with you, we'll put it under commission discussions.
That'd be great.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Franks?
That's all.
Other commissioners?
Mr. Crease, I
Mr.
might
Wood.
just want to, I won't have anything to propose, but we'll just have a short little discussion about wire fraud. And
Wire fraud?
Yeah,
Let's-
it's becoming a little bit more prevalent
Okay.
than we realize, I think.
Other commissioners? All right, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended? So moved. Is there a second? Okay, the motion is by Mr. McMullen, seconded by Ms. Franks, that the agenda be approved as amended. If you're in favor of that motion, vote aye. Aye. If you're opposed, vote no. The motion passes unanimously. Next up is approval of September minutes. Is there a motion? I have a motion by Ms. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Horn, that September's minutes be approved as presented. Are there corrections, additions, or discussion before we vote? If not, if you're in favor of that motion, vote aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to recuse myself since I wasn't present.
All right. Ms. Frank recuses herself. Let's move on. Medical waiver requests. Ms. Maxwell?
I'm surprised you're going to let me speak again.
Yeah. You're always welcome to speak.
Would you like for me to read them each individually?
Yes. And then I'd like to have just a general discussion about the possibility of the executive director handling this instead of us handling it. But we'll talk about that. All right, let's go to Clara Carter.
Okay. The first one is Clara Thomas Carter. Her license expired on 3/6/2017, and she requested reinstatement on 8/28/2017. On September 8th, she emailed Aaron Smith of our office and elaborated that her husband had passed away on February 13th after a long battle with Parkinson's disease. She stated she's getting her life back on track now, and she is requesting that a reinstatement of her license. She has paid the $480 on 9/8/2017 to have her license reinstated and completed all CE and proof of E&O. Her license has been reinstated, and she is requesting the refund of the additional fees.
$480.
All right, discussion.
Did were the requirements of the rule fulfilled?
Yes, she did send in a doctor's note.
So it was within 60 days and the doctor's note was provided and all that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Move to approve.
Second. I've got a second by Mr. McMullen, second by Mr. Wood, that this request be granted and $400 be refunded. to the licensee.
No, it's 400. She doesn't get the 80 back because that's her renewal fee.
Discussion on the motion. If not, let's vote. Those in favor of the motion vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. That motion passes unanimously. Next up is John Woodall.
Mr. Woodall wrote us on 9/22/2017. I'll read his letter. Back during the spring, I retired my license. Right after that, I had a stroke in April, and my thinking of when things were due was not clear during the following months. I've had my license for over 20 years and have worked for 4 different agents. Encloses the check for $80 and the late fees of $100. He asked that consideration be granted for the renewal fees due to his other circumstances that he has gone through. He did meet the requirements.
He wants his renewal fee waived.
No, I'm sorry. He wants the additional fees waived,
And how much do they total?
$100.
It's his is 150 actually.
150?
Yeah, he had to come in and pay an additional $50 to reinstate his license, but he is in active status currently, so it's 150 total.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, the motion is made by Ms. Frank, seconded by Mr. McMullen, that the request of Mr. Woodall be approved and $150 be refunded to Mr. Woodall. Is there discussion on the motion? Let's vote then. Those in favor of the motion vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Lisa Gilbert.
This request was brought to us earlier in the year and was never presented to the commission. In my write-up, she reached out to me on September 27th and shared the previous communication that she had had with staff and the director, where it was stated that her license would be put back into retired status, which it was in prior. She also has been in the hospital on and off with her father and is the primary caretaker. I told her that I would present it to the commission today, and we also confirmed with legal counsel that we could do this since she is past the 1-year mark. But she showed proper documentation that this had been sent back in April when she would have met the requirements.
I think your notes asked for us to consider this as if it were May 1st.
Yeah.
As if it was presented to you at the May meeting.
Okay. Discussion. So if I understand what you said correctly, at least one member of the staff at that time said it would be taken care of.
Correct. And back in April, Miss Gilbert paid the necessary fee, and then she also sent in the medical documents in April, and she was told that she would be reinstated.
And the requirements of the rule are met?
They were met, yes.
Okay. I move that we approve.
Second.
Okay, the motion made by Mr. McMullen and seconded by Ms. Frank would do what, Caitlin? How many dollars are we talking about?
This would place her back into the retired
If
status
there-
that she was in prior.
At this point, if we went on today's date, we could not do this.
Correct.
Okay, so the motion, I think, then is to place her license back into retired status. Is that okay with both of you?
Correct.
Everybody understand? All right, is there discussion? Let's vote. Those in favor of the motion vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. That motion passes unanimously. Now, if it's okay with the commission, I'd like to, I'm not necessarily troubled by this, but there were extensive medical records included in this file that I don't know how to read, nor do I think is appropriate for me necessarily to see. And at one point, and I'm not sure why I had this, maybe because a previous employer just said he had the authority to do it, but do you have any sense, either of you, that the executive director can review this individually and make a decision without coming to
The rule states the commission, so, I mean, we believe it would have to come in front of you. Now, Caitlin can review the documents herself and present kind of just a summary, as she did today, not give those medical documents to you if that's what you wish. I just know in the past we've had some questions come up, so I think staff has just been gathering more documents just to make sure that all questions are covered.
So, is it the pleasure of the commission that You don't need, if you want, if they want to submit them and you want to review them, that's great, but I don't, my sense is, personally, I don't care to give them. I want you to tell me what the story is and
Okay.
make a decision from that.
I agree.
I mean, it might be good for Caitlin to see them,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, yeah.
but then if she would just give us her recommendation, because that's probably what I'm going to base everything on.
Okay.
So,
And by rule, it asks that they submit the medical documents. Doesn't it say medical?
It just says they have to provide a note from the doctor and a statement themselves, so they don't even have to provide medical documents if they don't wish to.
It's kind of like in the past, in some of the legal documents, we receive social security numbers, and it's just another one of those privacy issues that we don't need or want that information.
Just by virtue of this meeting, this becomes public record.
Right.
And so I just assume that. Thank you, Rick. Commissioner Horn. Don't forget your microphone, Commissioner.
Moving that on. They have a saying in music, all cows eat grass, but we found out all cows don't eat grass. So what I'm saying is that people have different circumstances and through their illness, and I'm not a medical doctor. I can't look at this thing and say she's faking or et cetera. But I know this, that the best thing that we can do is put somebody who is able to look at this and come and make a fair evaluation and then present the information to us, and we can go ahead and decide whether we're going to hold that person's feet to the fire or we're going to forgive them. And I think I might have shared with the commission once before that we had a person that said he was sick. They didn't let him go on sick call in the military. The next morning he was dead. And the idea is nobody who made the decision was a qualified medical technician. So I'm saying that I think we need to be careful. We're heading down a slippery slope. If we just say, okay, you were late, we're going to fine you. So we need to look at this carefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other comments? All right. I don't know that we need to vote on it, but I think without objection, Caitlin, if you will give us a summary and your recommendation without medical records,
Yes.
I think it'd be great. And if you think there's information that's questionable that we ought to see, then please provide it.
Okay.
Okay? Gary?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter that's troubling me, but the first woman hadn't been able to get out of bed for 6 months. And we just approved to get in this business where there's no money. All you get to do is spend money, you don't make money. I mean, she met the rules and she's permitted to do that, I understand, but I feel like I've approved her to go deeper in debt. Nothing I can do about it, I mean, but that is kind of troubling. We approved her to go into this business and she hadn't been able to get out of bed in 6 months.
Comments?
There's nothing we can do about it, I don't think, but it troubles my mind.
There are probably a whole lot of people who get real estate licenses that never should have.
Yeah.
It's easy to get into and easy to get out of. But I don't know that we can be the arbiter of that.
No.
Commissioner Horn?
That's just the point. I don't know what you're saying, Gary.
Sir?
I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, she said in her testimony that she hadn't been able to get out of bed for 6 months. She's so troubled by her husband and his passing. And we approved her to go get in a business that is even more troubling. I mean, it's difficult to make a living in real estate.
Yeah, but is that our call?
No, I'm just saying it bothers me.
Okay.
Well, I also think that you can get doctors to write letters that, or someone to write a letter, whether you really not be as sick as it sounds too. So I think they're both two ends of that.
If a person meets the requirements, I'm not comfortable substituting my judgment for theirs about their own situation.
Mr. Douglas?
I agree with that
last statement. That's not our place.
All right, I'm ready to leave this topic unless anyone else has anything to say. Let's go to the education report. Caitlin?
I'm presenting this on behalf of the Education Director, Ross White. We have 15 courses that are being presented today. Per Ross, all of these have met the requirements. We have 2 new instructors as well. They also have met all requirements.
All right, let's take the courses first.
Move to approve the courses.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Frank, seconded by Ms. Hills. The courses, as recommended by our Education Director, be approved. Mr. McMullen?
I'm going to abstain on 01 and 015, please.
Thank you. Other discussion?
I think this might be the place for me to say, this in the last week, in the last week, there it comes. I've received some communications from a licensee, and she was copying me on Mr. White's responses. I just read the first one because I thought this might get, this might get involved somewhere. But this particular lady, she basically didn't even want to take her 16 hours, but she was complaining that she took an online class, a 4-hour class, and it only took her 2 hours and a half. And then she had to sit there for the rest of the 4 hours, every 15 minutes, refreshing. My concern about that is that we really need to make sure that Ross is really looking at these classes and making sure that they're 4-hour classes. Nobody wants to sit around refreshing for that long. And I don't know, and since he's not here, I can't ask him, but I don't know what his process is. But I would like for him to really, really look at that, and to just, I don't know how he does it, but to make sure that if somebody's getting 4 hours credit, that they're indeed doing 4 hours worth of work.
All right, let's do this. Let's vote on courses 02 through 014. We'll come back to 1 and 15. Okay, the motion is to approve those courses. If you're in favor of that motion, vote aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, vote no. That motion passes unanimously. Now, separate motion to approve courses 01 and course 015.
Motion to approve.
Made by Ms. Hills, seconded by Ms. Franks. Is there discussion? If not, let's vote. Those in favor of that motion, vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
McMullen recused.
Okay, so let the record reflect that the motion passed on 8, 0, and 1 recusal, Commissioner McMullen. All right, approval of instructors. As Ms. Maxwell said, we have 2 to approve. Is there a motion or discussion?
Motion to approve the 2 instructors.
I have a motion by Ms. Hill, seconded by Ms. Taylor, that the instructors be approved as recommended by our Education Director. Is there discussion? If not, let's vote. Those in favor of that motion, vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. Thank Mr. White for his work on that.
And I have a special thank you. I've gotten two thank yous from associations on help, timely help that Mr. White's helped them with on getting things done. I thought he was going to be here, and I was going to thank him. So I want to
I'll
go
make
on
sure
the
to pass
record
it along.
that he had thanked. They let me know how helpful he was.
All right, let's move on to the Executive Director's report. I'm sorry, Mr. Bloom.
Yeah, I have a question for Austin. That course started at 3 hours and went to 1 hour. Is that not correct?
015?
Yes, sir. I saw something that was originally issued that said 3 hours for that course.
If I,
I'm not, I thought it was supposed to be a 2-hour course, and I have an email out to TAR to ask them how many hours it's
Well,
supposed to be.
I don't think you can cover that in 1 hour, is all I'm saying.
I'm planning to talk for 2 hours.
Okay.
So.
they had submitted back and forth and had changed, and then they changed it back.
Okay. Well, if it's been approved for 1 hour. If they want to ask for it to be approved for 2, I assume they can go back through that process and try to get it changed. But I have an email out to Jennifer Fair and Steve McDonald right now.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I thought that wasn't correct, but we'll see.
And I think the commercial one had come out originally for 1 and got changed to 3. Do you want us, do you want us to amend it to 2 now, or because do you plan to be teaching it?
I'm going to talk for 2 hours, but I'm not sure why it's 1, and I asked them to clarify that. Maybe we will hear back at some point today,
Okay.
and it might be more appropriate to bring it back up when we have clarification from TR.
So you're not scheduled to teach that class in the next 30 days?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I thought so. So we need to do some sort of remedy. I would make a motion that we approve the amount of hours that TAR, since as TAR, they've looked at the course, and I'd say if it's, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, that we go ahead and approve that since you have a class scheduled.
It's similar to a class that was previously approved by the commission for 2 hours, and it's going to be based on similar material, and I plan to speak for the same amount of time.
Then I would, as the instructor, I would certainly want to make sure that you got the 2 hours, because they're going to leave the room after 1 if you don't give them 2.
Second.
Okay, so we're going to go back and revisit course
Okay.
015. Okay, and without objection, I believe there's a motion to reconsider our approval of 0115. And so the chair would entertain a motion to that effect. Ms. Franks, is your motion to grant up to 2 hours of continuing education for that course?
Yes, it is.
Second.
And Ms. Hills, that's your second. That's what's in front of us, ladies and gentlemen. Is there discussion on that motion? If not, let's vote. Those in favor of that motion vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously with the exception of Mr. McMullen, who recused himself. All right.
And I would just, right there, I would like to ask something too. I know we've had the road show that goes all around the state and talking to the people. And when I read this, that Austin was going to be teaching it, I knew he was a good person to teach it. I'm just thinking that, you know, I know it gets so timely and they're so busy at the Trek office that, you know, maybe, and I know Austin probably didn't want to go all over the state with it, but is this something that was going to be simulcasted? Do you know, Austin?
They do intend to do that,
Yeah.
yes.
So that may be something that we might want to consider as y'all look at other dates for when you're going with that presentation.
All right. Other comments? Let's move on to the executive director's report. Ms. Maxwell.
To follow up on the outreach, we have no additional outreach scheduled. I take that back. We have 1 additional outreach scheduled, but other than that, we have not planned any future outreach at this time. I think everyone's sick of us.
Yes.
The main thing that I want to bring to your attention is understaffing. I have requested a temporary employee. We have our administrative manager that is scheduled to be out on maternity leave. Melissa Fox, I don't know if you all were made aware, but she is pregnant and she is due at the end of November. And in anticipation of that, we have requested a temporary employee and plan to move forward with some overlap so that we're able to get the temporary employee trained before Melissa will be out for her period of time.
So, Ms. Taylor.
Yes, I would like.
Ms. Taylor.
I would like to make a request, please, that you give us a list of the staff. But I would also like for you to include on that list the phone numbers and emails of these people, because from time to time we need to get in touch with one or the other, and it's cumbersome at least to look up. Plus, I'd also like to have the email and phone number of Ross, Carter, and Brian.
Would it be helpful if I just emailed that out to the commission?
That would be nice, but whenever it's updated, I would like for it to consistently be updated too. Thank you.
And where possible, to all commissioners, if you're communicating with a staff member other than Caitlin, if you could copy her so that she knows what the topic is and what the response looks like, whether it's the correct response or not, I think it'd be helpful.
Yes.
Well, I do want to make a comment if I can.
Please, you have the floor.
I called Caitlin with an issue that someone had contacted me with recently, and Caitlin was right on top of it and handled it very well. And I appreciate that very much. I think that's such a comfort level for us as commissioners to have people that are really doing their job and on top of our realtors and their questions.
Thank you. And I'm happy to do the same for anyone because I want to know about any issues that people are experiencing.
And I will tell you this maybe as in kind of a warning. Our previous executive director did give out his phone number to lots and lots of people, and he got lots and lots of calls. You can handle that however you want to handle it, but I think people got used to, I've got the executive director's number, so.
And I too thank you, because we've had in our area a couple of associations that needed something, and very grateful that you've been able to help.
Of course.
In a timely fashion. So thank you so much.
So I can tell the same story, and I think it's good. That's customer service. We're your customers in that sense, and we appreciate your quick response.
Good.
What else in your report?
So primarily, I don't have anything that's too out of the norm as far as our numbers go. I would just like to point out, since I mentioned at the last meeting the rise in complaints opened and complaints closed, that we are now back in line this month. And the previous month, I had mentioned that it was out of line due to the time that they were closed at the end of July, beginning of August.
So does that mean we're having more complaints, or handling about as many as come in each month?
We're staying consistent.
Stand by. All right, comments or questions for Ms. Maxwell regarding her report? It's on your tablet.
Should also too, I mean, or any time of the day, are you going to say anything about that we can now get our license and print them out online?
Yes, we have mentioned that. We've started mentioning that in the outreach. We mentioned it yesterday. And if you're signed up for our Notify, then you did get correspondence about it. But we are now have the ability to print, licensees have the ability to print their license online through our online licensing system. And they've given real estate, funeral, and accountancy that ability. So it's a slow rollout to see how it goes and get feedback.
Can I ask a question?
That's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Huge.
Yes.
Wonderful.
When somebody, and I happen to have a close relative who has waited till the last minute to get her license studies done, and so when they turn it in, now this is online, it's an immediate, correct?
The course provider, the courses, education.
If it's online, it's an immediate, that you're notified immediately that they
completed it?
Mm-hmm.
I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, that the course provider has 10 days to get the courses to us.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they send it to us, Sherry sends it to our IT department, and it is uploaded into our system. And we request that everybody send those by 2 p.m., and they're typically uploaded that very next morning.
All right, let's ask about the license online. Now, when somebody finishes all their courses and sends all their paperwork in, are they notified that they have the right to get their license online, or is that something that you have to know that you can do that before?
I believe after they pay, they send in their education, we process their application, I believe it's typically, I don't believe that they're currently notified. I believe they would have to know to go in and that they're in the active status.
Would there be a way to notify them when they do all their work and it's okayed and
To go
cleared
on.
with, that they are notified, your license is ready, you can go to such and such a place and
I think that's where we're trying to get. The state for a while has been working on a contract for Adobe AEM, which would work with our online licensing system to be able to send out communication via email directly from our online licensing system. We're not quite there, but that's something that we're working towards because we'd also like the ability to do that with renewal notices and sort of any kind of notice that we're sending. It would be a lot easier for us and a lot easier for the licensee if they could get it via email and it would be instantaneous.
thank you.
Other questions? Other questions for the director? If not, let's move on to commission discussions, and we'll start with you, Ms. Franken, a report on Arello.
If you guys will pass these down. I'm not going over everything. I not only tend to talk too much, I take too many notes. But a few things I wanted to let you know about the Arello Annual Conference that I attended. If you'll look down on that first page, under district meeting schedules, Kentucky has had a huge overhaul in their real estate commission, and they were supposed to host the conference, the district conference in Kentucky in 2019. In Kentucky, no one was present at the annual conference, nor has there been any communications returned back to Arello about that. And so they asked me, would it be possible for us to do it in Nashville in 2019? I told them that I would love to see that happen. I know there'd be some sponsorships that would be available that I would need to help coordinate. And I am on the program committee. And so I just wanted to let you know that that's probably in the works for 2019 to have the district meeting in Nashville. And so just want to give you a heads up about that. And then in the law and regulation meetings, they had done a survey, and 24 states responded to the survey. And it was mostly about questions about teams. And so that information is there. One of the big discussions was who owns the team name. And according to the surveys, all 24 states agreed that the principal broker is the owner of the team names. So that was a little bit controversial. And that it'll show you, we are doing pretty much, we're on track with all the other states from across the United States when it comes to teams. Some are adding, one state has added teams to their law and put that name teams in their law and their statute. So that was the first time that that's happened. It was mainly about team oversight. Everybody's just like us. They look at the principal broker as the person that's has the total oversight of it. And then there was discussion about payment for assistance. Same as we're doing, and that's the consensus of all the other states, that the principal broker pays any commissions and that the assistants cannot be paid according to any commissions. It's only salaried or hourly compensation. And then one thing, another thing that we discussed was virtual supervision. There's a new thing called cloud companies. I received an email this past week from a local person in the Nashville area offering for me to leave my company and join his company for $50. There's no office. You don't have to do anything. You have more freedom. You get to keep all your money. And so I looked that up, and unfortunately, the man who was advertising that has an affiliate license. He doesn't have a broker, so I'm not sure who he's calling his broker. When I looked a little further, he was working for a company in Nashville, and that's where his license is. So that nationwide and in Canada, there was a lot of discussion about that. One of the great things about going to Arello is that we can see things before they happen, maybe in Tennessee, but we're already starting to see these cloud companies. I don't know what we want to do about it. I just want to put it on your radar that everybody's coming up with all kinds of different concepts that are different than what we've all known in the past. And then Finley Maxson is the NAR General Counsel. He was there, and he was talking. We still have a lot of problems about website accessibility, but that President Trump has deprioritized that. So he was telling us we didn't have to worry so much about that. To Bobby's question, another big thing was the cybersecurity. And I'll let you talk about that when we finish. You'll see under Program Committee where the coming places are, where the meetings are going to be. The next meeting is in May, and that's the mid-year conference. And that's April 4th through the 7th, and that's in New Orleans. And Caitlin, I tried to find that we had a list of commissioners. We were just going down the list who got to go because can't everybody go. The state can't pay for everybody to go. And I couldn't find that list. So I don't know if you've seen a list like that or not.
I have not seen it, but I also haven't looked for it.
Okay.
I probably have an idea of where it could be kept on our central drive.
Okay.
So I can try to have that for us at the next
Okay,
meeting.
because I'm not sure who's up to go next time or not. But that's not until April. And then the Education Committee does, they do awards, and they gave out awards on newsletters and websites, which it made me think, and I shared this with Caitlin, we used to have a newsletter, and as a principal broker, I always read that newsletter cover to cover. And in that newsletter, it would tell who was in trouble and what their penalty was even. It was a great deterrent, I think. I think now people can get in trouble and no one will ever know about it, kind of thing. I would love to see us go back. Our previous director, we only had one newsletter that went out, and then no more after that. So I would love for you to look into that. So that would be a good way for us to communicate with everybody. And then the other one was websites. And I know the Commerce and Insurance is in charge pretty much of the website, but most every state really uses their website a lot, and all their information's on there. It would have about the licenses that you could print on there. So if there was some way that, and I know you're working on that now, in some of the states are also starting to publish the pass-fail rates for both schools and teachers. And I know we're not allowed, is it schools we can't report on? Do you know? Was it schools we could,
I think we've got.
Yeah, that's, Bobby's correct. There's no way to track the teacher.
Okay.
The schools will have multiple teachers for the class.
Well, and what they do is they do a 2-year average of what those pass-fails are. And so basically that's my report on Arello. There's some other things in here if you want to read that later.
Questions for Ms. Franks?
Yeah, Marcia, I have a question about the cloud companies. Do they have, so if a cloud company is set up, do they have to have a name registered with, do they have to have a name registered? How are they setting these up?
Well, I would think they would need a firm license, but they do not. And this is also, when I looked it up, they're in 5 places in Tennessee already. And one of them is Kingsport.
I know.
And they don't have companies and they don't have a broker? They don't have registered?
This one did not. This one did not.
Well, so what can we for Trek do against that? Because that's an illegal company then, without a broker and without a company registered name.
Well, I think what we're going to have to do is confront it head on. And I mean, I have this one company. I mean, we could use that. I could turn it in.
I was going to suggest that that's possibly the route that we go so that legal can look into it a little bit more and we can.
Yeah, I don't really like the commission having to turn people in so much, but if it is something that is so big, I think that maybe I'd have to step out of my comfort zone and give legal the name and let them check about it.
And sometimes, I mean, when you step in it, I mean, you can't help it. If it's what I'm thinking of, I watched it, and I'm not sure that it was what was happening, and I think it was heading or out of combination towards Knoxville, and I thought it started in combination after the 50-mile rule.
Yeah.
So I'm still a little unclear on the concept. So somebody advertises as a real estate company or as a licensee, but there is no company.
I don't know if they have filed it with the state of Tennessee. I don't know if they filed it with the state of Tennessee. I couldn't find any record in our verify under Trek. And this person, when I looked him up, he was a licensee at a company. So I guess as a, I'm thinking, I just don't want to be I don't want to be as a commissioner, be the real estate cops. But as a principal broker, if one of my agents were doing this, I would want to know. So I thought, should I even call the principal broker? But then, I didn't know what to do. So I think I'll just give the name to legal and let them see what they can do.
So tell me once more, maybe Diane, you can help me, but so some licensee is advertising as his own firm when he's associated with another, is that it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
And he's not a broker.
got it. All right, I think your decision to give the information to legal is a smart one.
Okay.
All right, any other questions for Ms. Franks?
Can I ask about the Arillo and the Nashville thing? Is that something that we need to do, or are they kind of sitting back waiting to hear from us? Or
No, what they do is they have a person who's an events planner. It's a nationwide events planner, and that person would locate the hotel that would be in the price range that we could do, and it would have to be a hotel where those meetings would take place. But it would fall on us to probably line up some speakers to show them Nashville, that kind of thing.
has it ever been to Nashville?
Many years ago. And they've been wanting to come. I'm on the program committee, and that's who decides where and when we go. And I have, I think I've made a real big point about we can't go out of the United States because it shuts out a lot of people. And that was one of my reasons for getting on that committee. But everybody has always said, we want to go to Nashville, and they thought that the rooms were too expensive for Arillo, and I will say they are pretty expensive in Nashville. But we have so many hotels now that they think by 2019 that, it would be okay.
I'm just kind of thinking, I mean, you said that the state can only send 2 of us to an Arillo. No, the state chooses to only send 2 of us to Arillo. But maybe if we had it in Nashville, then all of us could come.
I would hope so. I would hope so.
I don't know. I don't know if we need to vote. I guess I'm just thinking, I'd love for it to come to our state.
I know.
And I think people want to come to our state.
They do.
So,
They do.
okay.
I'll
All right.
keep you abreast of.
Just one note of interest. I noticed 2018 meeting is at the Ritz-Carlton in St. Louis, so I can't imagine those are inexpensive hotel rooms.
No, but you know what? They are now a Marriott hotel, and they are not as expensive as you would think.
And sometimes the chamber may help you, or
Yes.
I know our chamber helped you.
Yes.
All right, Marcia, thanks for that report, and thanks for your interest in this. Every time you report back, it's good stuff. We appreciate it. All right, one more item before we take a break. Bobby, you want to talk about wire fraud a little bit?
The only thing I point out, and it was mentioned a little bit after we spoke at the spring conference for the Tennessee Realtors, and then the Rice Insurance, their attorney came and spoke and talked a little bit about that's becoming more and more of an issue. And here within the last couple of weeks, it hit a little close to home at our company. And during what literally happened the morning of the closing, one of our agents got an email saying, "Hey, by the way," from the title company, they thought, saying, "The closing's not today. It's going to be backed up till Tuesday, but everything's fine." And so, of course, everybody thought it was close. So she's fired up and she calls the title company. "What do you mean delaying closing here? It's 7 o'clock in the morning." And come to find out that email didn't come from the title company. As they started going back and researching it, there had been this imposter had been in the middle of the transaction for about 2 weeks. And to kind of make it where it was hard to follow with the email, they literally took one of the, in the word title, one of the lowercase L's, they just doubled it up, so it wasn't an obvious catch. And our bankers telling us that they're hearing and they're being told that the issue is happening between the two title companies. That they're intercepting emails between the two title companies, because in our area we have a lot of split closings, and that's where they're intercepting the emails, getting in the transaction. And fortunately, it was a cash buyer. There was approximately $250,000 cash that was being wired, and then there was a lot of errors. They got the wiring instructions. They go to the bank, and the bank looks and says, "Did you know that this money is going to a furniture company? What did you say you were doing with it?" And said, "We're closing the house." So they called the number on the that had been hijacked on the email, and it said they answered the phone like somebody furniture company, and they had an accent, but it wasn't an accent like most Middle Tennessee people, and so they still sent the money, which was a goofball thing to do. But so they still sent the money. It turned out they ended up catching the money. It just happened to be the company was on a scam alert at the bank. They went ahead and sent $11,000 to kind of test it. And then that's the 11, but they got all the rest of it stopped. But $11,000, and one of the title companies ended up eating it. So I guess my issue is, and we've made a policy, I'm telling real estate agents, there is absolutely no reason you need to be sending out wiring instructions. And that was not the case here. They intercepted it from the title companies. And so I had my agent call and reach out to Rice. And Rice says, "We're getting this phone call every single day right now, that this is a big problem in our industry." And we've got title companies right now that are saying, "I don't know that we want wires anymore. We want to go back to cashier's checks." So I'm just saying, be careful. Be careful.
As we discussed this at Arello, it is a huge, huge problem. And one of the attorneys suggested that the information should never be in an email, and that it should just be by phone call. And his advice was to go back to the old-fashioned way and have certified checks.
We may want to send out, Bobby and I can work together, maybe an e-notify, just letting people know, be on alert, this is happening.
They were also saying that you could even put it down in your signature line that if you need to communicate in an email, to put that in there, that you won't be asking for any of their information in an email, that you would be calling them.
One of the problems we have in our area, though, at closings, the attorneys won't accept, even if it's a cash. They want it wired to them. They don't want any cash, paper, anything in their room. So
but they're the ones that are getting in trouble. They're the ones that that it's happening to, also. So that pendulum may swing as they have more problems.
One of the companies involved in this had that very same comment in their email line, and they're reconsidering that now. Good.
We had the listing, but 3 years ago, and the buyer buying our listing came from Chicago and lost 80-some thousand. And the realtor's email was hacked, and it was a period in between something, or initial dropped or something, and they sent it. And
You might want to alert people to look at their E&O insurance and what that covers too.
Mhm.
Other comments? Let's take about a 10-minute break, and we'll get to the legal report. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to work. At this time, our agenda calls for us to handle the legal report, and we have a consent agenda to discuss first. Who's taking that? Ms. Ryan, are you first, or Ms. Smith? Okay. Microphone, please. It's not picking up.
Well, I guess we just need to move on to the rest of the legal.
Hold on.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh, back off.
I guess a friend of mine was not in business, just posted this, and I did not know it. And she told me, you know, yes. My husband, each and every one of you. I can't choose one or the other. Okay, the consent agenda, my consent agenda goes up to number 21. I made a motion number 10, and the question was whether or not in that number 10 there was a document that stated that the person was facilitating.
Robin, it appears your microphone, or it was not.
Okay. Okay. In any event, the answer to the question is yes, there was, the form was properly filled out as a facilitator in the contracts and everything in that number 10.
Let's yes. Hold up. Yeah. So we're going to, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
1 through 21. There's a motion to do this, or a second? Okay, second from Ms. Taylor. Now, Mr. Wood, you
Pull number 8 and 10.
Oh, 8.
Ms. Hills. All right, the motion, as it stands, is to approve the course of 1 through 21 with the exception of cases 8, 9, and 12. Are there other cases that commissioners would like to have pulled from the consent item agenda? If not, since we're ready to vote on the motion, which is to approve 1 through 21, except for 8, 9, 10, and 12.
Do those numbers need to be read in first, or?
I think we'll do that. I just want to make sure we have the motion first. Okay. All right, Ms. Ryan, if you'll read in those courses that our cases we're about to vote on.
Okay. 2017-024121. 2017-044141. 2017-024791. 2017-024811. 2017-025011, 2017-025681, 2017-025771, 2017-0821, 2017-028611, 2017-028651, 2017-029241, 2017-029591, 2017-030471, 2017-030491, 2017-030511, 2017-031631, 2017-031831.
All right. I trust you all followed along to make sure that Ms. Ryan read the case numbers incorrectly. Are you prepared to vote? All right. In those particular cases, if you're in favor of accepting council's recommendation and dismissing those particular cases, please vote aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, vote no. All right, that motion passes. Now let's go to case number 8. Ms. Ryan, if you'll read that into the record, and then we'll see what commissioners' questions we have.
2017-026521. Complainant states respondent.
Now, let me just check for a second. Was
This
that
was-
yours? or
This
is
was
that-
mine.
Okay, Bobby, what's
My
your
question was, I think this was the one where the people were advertising, an agent was advertising other people's listings on Craigslist and stuff like that. And then the comment was made in here that they had permission.
They had they had permission and provided that documentation to show there was permission from the other agents to list the sites.
Okay, so like when you're saying the permission is like, hey, here's an email saying we're good.
Yep.
But the way real estate commission law is, don't they also have to have the permission from the seller?
Well, this is the permission from no, it's from the listing agency or the seller. It's from the agent or, let me find it for you.
So is it agent or
Hold
the
on just a
principal
moment,
broker?
just a
though?
moment. Just a
Hold on.
moment.
Let's get this right.
Is it 1260.02?
It is .12.
12E?
Um,
3E?
Hold on just a moment. Yes, by another licensee, without written authorization from the property owner, must be evidenced by the statement of listing agreement or other written statement signed by the owner. And I did see documentation showing permission for listing these listings.
But who gave the permission? The
I saw a
agent
document
or the-
from the owner and the agent. The
Not the
initial
principal
agent.
broker.
Not the principal broker.
The
No.
principal broker owns the listing, not the agent.
What this law says is that by another licensee without written authorization from the property owner. And I'm assuming if the property owner gives written authorization to have it posted anywhere, that's sufficient without the principal broker. Now, if you think the principal broker needs to be involved too, that's not how I read it, but
Which one is it again? I'm sorry. 62.
1260.02.12E. Thank you, Chairman, Vice Chairman McMillan.
Mr. McMullen, do you have an interpretation? How do you read it?
It says that you could either have a statement on the listing agreement or another written statement signed by the owner. So as long as it's one of those two things from the owner of the property, then it can be listed by another licensee.
Does it say the agent who listed the property has to give permission as well, or is it strictly owner?
It says no licensee shall advertise property listed by another licensee without written authorization from the property owner. It doesn't talk about getting permission from anybody else other than the property owner. That's all you got to have.
Ms. Ryan, is that your report that the owner
Yes, now I
gave?
didn't have every single listing, you understand, but I had a sampling.
All right, Mr. Wood, what do you think?
I don't know. See, like my personal opinion, I've never liked the rule that the seller had to say it okay anyway. And that's just kind of one of those things someday I'd like for it, because I kind of feel like if you list it with the agent, then you're basically saying go. And go therefore and present my information everywhere.
Anywhere you can, yeah.
Yeah, and why would you need to come back to them again?
And with that, it tells you, you go with the assumption that you have a beginning and ending. With this, it's just saying it's okay to advertise.
I'm going to say, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to dismiss.
Is there
Second.
Motion by Mr. Wood, second by Ms. Franks, is to accept council's recommendation and dismiss item 8 on the consent agenda. Is there further discussion? Ms. Hills?
So I guess the other part that troubles me is that does it paint a true picture? I mean, is it a false picture? I mean, of what this agent is trying to do, you know.
Well, do you, in your area, do we, like in the Nashville area, we can pay to have an is it IDX?
IDX,
Yes.
but it shows who has the listing.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, if you're going to participate in IDX, then one of the rules is you have to be able to show whose listing
Who
it
owns
is.
the listing. And that's what this is, not painting a true picture.
Yeah.
The FAR, exclusive right to sell agreement, section 7 gives the authority of the agent to post it on public websites that are not their own. If it's on the MLS, I mean, you can read section 7 here, but I think it gives, when they sign that, they give them the authority for this thing to go on Craigslist or wherever.
Correct. But with that, and your mic's off, with that, it still goes through IDX, and it still paints a true picture that it will be on Commissioner Wood's website, but it will reflect that it is my listing.
Right. Well, it says here, seller understands and agrees about.
Microphone,
listing
Rick.
on the MLS or the-
Rick, turn on your microphone.
Not on?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's-
I'm on.
It has to be
I'm
read.
just not talking loud enough or into it. Okay. Let me read this. Seller understands and agrees that by placing the listing on the MLS or these similar services, the listing may be included in a searchable database provided by the MLS or similar service which can be viewed on other agents' websites. Seller also agrees that the listing may also appear on publicly accessible websites sponsored by and or affiliated with the MLS, the local association of realtors or similar listing services, and those who lawfully receive listing information and said entities. I mean, it goes on and on here. I mean, it sounds like to me that, this gives permission.
If they use the TAR form.
And
Right,
that's-
if they use this form, that's correct,
Yes.
and I think that goes with the rule that, I think Commissioner, I can't remember which one stated the rule, but McMullen, yeah, was that who stated it? Okay. And,
So I agree with the motion on that part. The only part that does concern me is that it still is painting an untrue untrue picture. So
Does it concern you enough to offer a substitute motion?
I hadn't thought about it enough.
So-
No, I'll go ahead. I'm all right.
Okay. Other discussion?
Let me ask you a question.
Push your microphone button, please.
Does it break our,
Just talk loud.
there we go. Does it break our advertising rule? Because a company name, it must be there. So I think it sort of does.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. McMullen?
the summary we have, it says a review of the website ad shows that the firm name and number are dominant, and the news story, it's something about a news story.
Okay.
All right, other discussion. The motion on the floor is to accept council's recommendation and dismiss item number 8 on the consent agenda. Let's vote. Those in favor of that motion vote aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. That motion passes unanimously. Now, item number 9.
2017-03-0581. Respondent is complaining.
Wait just 1 second. Let's see if we can see what the concern is. Diane?
I just have a question. So the assistant property manager, I know part of it was that the property was left unsecure, so that person worked for the respondent. Was that person the licensed person?
No, and that person didn't act in a licensed manner either. That person was.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
cleaned.
Yeah,
Okay.
they cleaned, they answered telephones, that kind of behavior.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have a motion, Ms. Hills?
A motion to accept council's recommendation.
All right,
Second.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Hills, second by Ms. Franks, that council's recommendation be adopted and item number 7 on the consent agenda be dismissed.
Item number 9.
I'm sorry, item number 9. Looks 9-7, look alike.
Odd.
Yeah.
That's his math.
Let's vote. Those in favor of the motion vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. That motion passes unanimously. Number 10.
That is 2017-08091.
Bobby?
It says the complainant is the buyer, then it says respondent was a facilitator.
Right.
And then it goes on the next line and says complainant signed a contract to build a home with builder represented by respondent.
That's poor language from me. This person was a facilitator entirely. It's just that there was an entity here that works with the building company over here. The building contract was only between the builder and the buyer. The
Okay.
building contract was only between the two of those. As far as a selling contract for it all, that was the facilitator, and there was a documentation, provided all the documentation, that person was acting in the role solely as a facilitator.
Okay. That's what's threw me, because I
got that.
I thought we were saying, well, but they're representing the builder,
Yeah.
but they're a facilitator to that. Well, you can't do it. Okay.
And you know what? After I went and looked it up, I realized exactly where I misled you, and I apologize.
Mr. Wood, do you have a motion?
I have a motion to accept council's recommendation to dismiss.
Is there a second? Second by Ms. Franks. Mr. Wood makes a motion. Mrs. Franks seconds that item number 10 on the consent agenda be dismissed as recommended by council. If you're in favor of that motion, vote aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. And number 12. Diane, is that you?
2017-028-521.
Go ahead, Diane.
So this is filed on, the respondent is an unlicensed person, or they had been licensed and it had expired?
No, respondent is not licensed. Respondent had an agent.
Agent.
Yeah,
But it wasn't filed on the agent, just.
no. And it was a contract issue. Honestly, when you read it, totally a contract issue. 100%. You owe me money. No, you owe me money. Contract.
Okay, I thought, what am I missing here? Okay, I just wanted to be sure I hadn't missed something.
Because
Thank
there
you.
was a licensee agent handling all the acts and everything of this respondent, so.
Okay, now that I thought, maybe I read it real early. Motion to accept council's recommendation.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Wood. Motion is to dismiss item number 12 on the consent agenda. Those in favor of the motion vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Ryan. Ms. Smith?
We're gonna, because I have a hard time, can we, and she can't get to the thing, can we just go on to my part of it and then I can move entirely for her?
Her part of it may only take a minute. What if, Erica, if you stood back behind her just for a second? Starts number 22 through 40. You need to, not yet. Caitlin, do you need to turn that on? There you go.
Okay, there we go. Is there any questions on my consent agenda?
So your recommendation is items 22 through 40 be dismissed, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Move to approve council's recommendation.
Is there a second? Second by Ms. Taylor. Now, Mr. Wood.
Want to pull out 39 and 40.
Okay. Other commissioners? All right. Let's vote on the motion to approve items 22 through 40 on the consent agenda with the exception of 39 and 40. The motion is to accept council's recommendation and dismiss. If you're in favor of that motion, vote aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. You need to read the case number into the record. My fault.
Okay. So starting with 22, 2017-026-361, 2017-026-651, 2017-026-911, 2017-026-931, 2017-029-771, 2017-029-791, 2017-030-091, 2017-030-111, 2017-030-131, 2017-030-231, 2017-030-861, 2017-030-881, 2017-029-341, 2017-029-361, 2017-030-841, 2017-031-571, 2017-031-591, and then that takes us to 39 and 40.
All right, the motion is to approve council's recommendation and dismiss those numbers just read into the record. Is there further discussion? If not, let's vote. Those in favor of that motion vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. Eric, if you'll read in number 39, just the case number, we'll go to Mr. Wood and see what his concern is.
It's 2017-031-681.
Bobby, are these together?
They're really together.
Let's
They're
read the
one and the same.
read the second one into the record as well then.
2017-031-701.
Okay, Bobby.
The short issue is it's over earnest money. They're
Yes.
arguing over earnest money. The problem has become the title company is holding the earnest money.
Yes.
And and one of the comments in here, it's basically saying, it says respondent, which is the seller's agent, confirms that the seller refuses to allow the title company to return the earnest money, but explains that he has no control over the earnest money because the title company is the official holder. And then later on it talks about this case is now being referred to Consumer Affairs because basically we have no control over it. If I'm reading it right. My whole point, I'm not going to change what I think she has the right outcome. All I want to do is put this on our radar because I think this is going to become a bigger problem. I'm seeing more companies holding, that title companies, closing attorneys are holding earnest money. And then when there's a problem, I mean, when we have a problem and a broker holds earnest money, there's rules in here that take care of that. But when it's held by title companies, I don't know that anybody knows what the rules are. And truthfully, title companies don't know what the rules are. Okay, so I guess my point, I want to go ahead and make the motion to dismiss both 39 and 40. I just want to put this on our radar. This is going to be a problem on coming. And, at some point in our rules, it said that even if the broker is not holding the money, the broker's still responsible for it. And that got taken out several years ago, my understanding. And we may have to revisit that if these cases like this continue to be a problem.
Okay.
So,
Question.
Yes, Ms. Hill.
So now, I thought that attorneys had a similar, something that was very similar to our regulations. That it's similar. So
Well,
is
it's
the
not exactly
title-
similar, but an escrow account is, and your attorney can tell you the same thing, is that you just like you can't, attorneys cannot mix money. Escrow account holds money belonging to others, totally. So it's in a separate account that can't be mixed with the attorney's funds or monies, and there is that responsibility to have that separate, yes. It's not quite the same. I mean, the rules you guys have about when something has to be interpled would not apply to an attorney.
Microphone.
I would assume that a title company has an escrow account, but it's the title company's escrow account, not the attorney's escrow account, but I think the attorney would be responsible in the same way.
Yeah. That's why you need to check the title company and do they really have an attorney?
All right, that discussion, Mr. Bloom.
Well, this is problematic from the get-go. It says in the fill in the blank, when will the closing be? And they wrote flexible.
True.
And then they throw it in our lap to try and negotiate that. I mean, that's all on the person who wrote the contract.
That's why we need to dismiss it. Another reason.
There is a motion.
There is a
motion to
Mr.
dismiss.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Frank that items 39 and 40 on the October consent agenda be dismissed per council's recommendation. Further discussion? If not, let's vote. Those in favor of that motion vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. All right, let's get on to the October legal report. Mr. McMullen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Ryan, Ms. Ryan, are you have the first part of the legal report?
I do. Number one, the first number of cases are representations. Number one, 2016-035-741. The following information was presented at the December 2016 meeting.
You want to skip down to the new information?
Yes, new information. Respondent's license expired in May 2017, and respondent has not attempted to renew as of the date of this meeting. Therefore, my recommendation is close and flag should respondent attempt to renew, which means that if that respondent attempts to renew, we can reopen this complaint if we think it's necessary.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wood, seconded by Commissioner Franks to accept recommendation to close and flag should the respondent attempt to renew. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously.
You should know, and you do know because you're all licensees except for you and him.
Mr. Horn.
That come May of next year, this person would have to start from scratch anyway. So, all right, number two, 2007.
Do number 2 and 3 go together?
Number 2 and 3 go together.
Okay, you want to read both those numbers in?
Okay, 2017-004731. The following information was presented again at the July 17th meeting. 2017-004811. It was presented in the July 2017 meeting. New information, certified and regular mail have been returned. A clear report offered an additional address. An attempt was made for service via an investigator for personal service. Investigator traveled to the home in question and found respondent above had moved out months ago. Investigator called respondent and was told respondent now lives in Louisiana working in Veteran Affairs and had no plans to return to Tennessee. So my recommendation is to close both of them. One is a company name and one was that person individual. To close both complaints, but flag should respondent return to the state and new complaints are filed.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Franks, seconded by Commissioner Taylor to accept the recommendation. Commissioner Bloom.
How would we know that they returned to Tennessee? They're
If we
doing
have
unlicensed activity.
I know, but then I would assume if they come back and do something, we will get more complaints, and then we can bring this back as well. I mean, we can't govern as well, monitor like a police, and we can't do that. But the problem is this person lives in Louisiana at this point in time, and they're not now doing anything in Tennessee that affects Tennessee's residents.
Ms. Hills.
A lien or anything is not placed on?
Well, a lien, you mean a judgment lien?
Judgment.
Well, if we could ever find them and they had the
Exactly.
assets.
In Tennessee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or otherwise you'd have to domesticate it into Louisiana or some other place.
That's
where
right.
they have assets.
That's not going to happen.
You have to domesticate it.
Domesticate. Yeah, a judgment.
Well, you learned one thing. That's something new. I've already learned that all cows don't eat grass. I learned that today.
Yeah.
If they're hungry enough, I bet they would, though. So the motion is to accept council's recommendation on numbers 2 and 3. Any additional discussion? Let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 4, Ms. Ryan.
2016-054311. This information was presented in the February 2017 meeting. This
Does
is
it
new
go with 5
information.
and 6?
I'm sorry, yes, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Let's just handle them all at once.
All right. The new information is that
We'll go to read the numbers for 5, 6, and 7.
certainly 2016-054-231, 2016-054-291, and 2016-54331.
Thank you. What's the new information?
Well, this matter is still in litigation. This particular respondent is licensed and was licensed at the time of the allegations. This is the first one, and no documents provided to determine if respondent as licensee handled any of the transaction. The complainant is an LLC as well, and the lawsuit was against this individual, the LLC, another individual, et cetera, and the complainant is an LLC and individuals. Complainant is an LLC and also is buying and selling real estate and probably is not licensed. I could not find any license for their names either. Litigation issues are of concern with forged documents for tax sale properties. Trustee was appointed to sell much of the property in question, and in November, the respondent, attorney below, was found in criminal contempt regarding a temporary injunction concerning sales of those property, and that matter is now before the Court of Appeals. This respondent in question has a license and was licensed, and the only proof we have is the lawsuit in various orders, and do not alone support any allegations of unlicensed practice. And this appeal and the underlying suit, because that has not been resolved, is going to take a year or more. My recommendation was to close and flag pending finding proof of unlicensed activity, because I don't have anything. All I have is a copy of the lawsuit between the two companies complaining about, it's a competition lawsuit from one LLC to another. There is a licensee involved as one of the defendants. I don't have any idea what the licensee did or did not do for the LLC. I have nothing. This was internally opened. We opened it when we saw the lawsuit. My recommendation, again, is to close and flag, because it's going to be sitting there for years, and I can't go forward at this point without anything. And if it came up again, if there's something comes up and that shows unlicensed activity, and by the way, that is not alleged in the lawsuit at all, but if it came up again and we found some information to support that, then we could reopen it.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. Ms. Hills?
So there's one licensee.
Yes.
Is it a broker license?
It's an affiliate, I think. Affiliate.
And so is one of the LLCs a broker license, or this is an affiliate from some other
This is an affiliate broker who is a member of the LLC, and whether or not that affiliate broker was handling the transactions for that LLC, I don't know.
Or advertising?
Well, I don't have any advertising. I have nothing.
So just, how does that work? 5 years from now, this person, and we flagged the last one also, is it in your computers?
Yes.
Okay.
It's in the system.
And it would flag it if some...
Yes.
How long does that flagging last?
I think until we remove it. Is that not right, Caitlin? Yes. It won't go away.
Okay.
Any additional discussion? Is there a motion? Oh, Caitlin?
I was just going to add, I'm sorry, if there's too many microphones on, it doesn't let your microphone work, that it would stay on their file until we removed it, and we could also put a note on the enforcement side and one on the licensing side as well.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
Motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Wood, to accept council's recommendation for 4, 5, 6, and 7. Is there additional discussion? Let's vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 8, Ms. Ryan.
Number 8 is related to number 9, which is why it's on here. I will read it. 2017-024481. Complainant is homeowner and respondent represents company who repossessed complainant's home. Complainant states complainant did not receive an eviction or notice of possession following sale of home and foreclosure, but did move much of complainant's possessions from home. A few days later, complainant returned to home to find the locks had been changed and complainant could not access the home. Complainant called the loan company, and a couple days later, complainant gained keypad combination retrieved rest of complainant's possessions. On entering the home, complainant states there was a crew present and complainant's possessions were gone, and was told that respondent was the licensee and that the crew had been instructed to take belongings to dump or burn them. Complainant called respondent and was told respondent had not contracted the crew, but the loan company did. The loan company told complainant that respondent had contracted the crew. Respondent told complainant that respondent had nothing but notice from the loan company and Fannie Mae to access the house. Loan company stated their crew did not access the house. Complainant states item missing include a flat screen TV, bedroom furniture, other household items, and pictures from a deceased father's World War II and documents. Complainant also states complainant requested to be allowed to take a gazebo, and respondent state respondent would get back to complainant. Complainant states respondent denied having any knowledge of the disposition of the property. Complainant states that the assignment was received by the client and agent, expected the property to determine occupation status. Respondent states client deems property vacant if no occupants and no personal property remaining with a garage sale value of more than $500. agent took pictures of property and reported property vacant. Property was then assigned to a field service company, and it was that company who visited property to determine if there was anything greater in value than the $500 garage sale value, and that point made the decision to move forward with service. Respondent states respondent did not instruct anyone to do anything and attached pictures of much of the property, but complainant states that not all the property was pictured, including the missing items. There was
Excuse
no.
me, could I stop? I don't really think there's anything in here. It's a violation because the proposed violation, they're not using their license. They're being a cleaning crew. So I would go ahead and say I would like to accept the council's recommendation to dismiss.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Woods, seconded by Commissioner Franks to accept council's recommendation to dismiss. Is there any additional discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 9, Ms. Ryan.
Thank you. 2017-024501, which is the reason that we had the previous complaint. Respondent is the principal broker above, but did not file a response. An email was sent to respondent on 9/1 asking if response was filed and requested that respondent reply no later than 9/8. Respondent did not reply. Because the underlying complaint was dismissed, my recommendation is just a $500 civil penalty for failure to respond, but that's my recommendation.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Franks, seconded by Ms. Hills to accept council's recommendation of a $500 civil penalty. Commissioner Bloom. Could you hit your microphone, please? Thank you.
I don't like a $500 penalty for somebody who fails to respond to this commission. So, I mean, it's a very simple request. They can write a note and say it doesn't even apply to the Tennessee Real Estate Commission rules and regulations. They didn't do anything except thumb their nose at us, so I'd like to recommend $1,000.
All right, we have Mr. Bloom making a substitute motion for a $1,000 civil penalty, and that has been seconded by Commissioner Taylor. Any additional discussion? Commissioner Horn?
Microphone.
That microphone, please. Thank you.
If that's the normal charge, $500, how they come up with $500? And if that is normal, how do Commissioner Bloom come up with $1,000?
Well,
I don't think we can just change horses in the middle of the street.
Commissioner Horn, $1,000 is the maximum civil penalty that we're allowed to impose for failure to respond. The commission has discretion to impose a civil penalty of less than $1,000 based on all the facts and circumstances. Council has recommended $500 based on the circumstance that the underlying complaint was dismissed. Commissioner Bloom has stated that he thinks it should be $1,000 because these people had an opportunity to respond and they didn't. That's the decision that we have to make. In our discretion, do we think $1,000 is the right number? If you think so, we'll vote yes on this motion. If you don't think so, we'll vote no, and then we would have an opportunity to revisit what the right number is. Okay? Any additional discussion? All right, we're going to vote first on Commissioner Bloom's motion, which is a $1,000 civil penalty. If you approve that motion, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. If you oppose, vote no.
No.
Let's take a roll call vote. Ms. Maxwell?
Commissioner Gary Bloom. Sorry about that. That was a personal mistake. Commissioner Rick Douglas.
No.
Commissioner Marcia Franks.
Yes.
Commissioner Diane Hills. Commissioner Johnny Horn.
No.
Commissioner Austin McMullen. Commissioner Fontaine Taylor. Commissioner Bobby Wood.
Yes.
Chairman John Grease.
Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. The motion carries on a 6-3 vote with Commissioners Horn, Douglas, and McMullen voting no. So let's move on now to number 10.
2017.
So hold on. Commissioner Horn.
Yeah, we got a little explanation here. Why is this so much more egregious than the other ones who was charging $500?
Can I take a stab at it?
Commissioner Woods?
I think normally we have been charging $1,000. That's been the norm.
Not every time. Again, sometimes when you have dismissed the underlying, which is why I recommended 500, sometimes when you've dismissed the underlying complaint has been 500. That's why I recommended
But not
500.
most times.
But I think consistently, we've gone on this type of activity, we've been at 1,000. 500 would be abnormal, not normal. And I think this, I mean, and my issue has been, one, it's well known that Commissioner Bloom is the biggest hardtail when it comes to this kind of stuff. So that's not anything new for anybody. But the big thing is, I think I don't ever want to give anybody an advantage by not responding to us. And sometimes when people don't respond, it's because they can't give us any information that's going to help them. It's only going to hurt them. And so it should not be in any advantage at all to not respond. And so that's my biggest concern.
Commissioner Horn.
We have had cases where the person failed to respond. And the way I see this is just one incident. And I could see if we reached out to him 15 times and he never responds, so let's get him with the max. But I'm having a problem finding out why it went from 500 to 1,000 when the people who recommended 500, I think we need to show them some respect too.
Well, I think, Mr. Horn, that we hold principal brokers to a higher standard. And for a principal broker to not respond, I'm a principal broker. If I were to get something from TREC, I would immediately make sure that I responded and did exactly what they wanted to. If we don't hold their feet to the fire, and I believe that we have to be consistent, there is sometimes underlying facts, but I would say consistently we have, if somebody doesn't answer, and especially a principal broker, that we hold them to the highest fine that we can give them.
Commissioner Taylor.
And I would also add, the broker didn't know whether we were going to dismiss the case or not at that time. They had no idea whether we would or not, and probably, possibly, had they sent in a report,
And
we
I think
would have
it's
changed different on both, made a different decision on both.
And as principal brokers, several of us are or have been, we look at that probably in a different way than maybe the public members would, and even Ms. Ryan, because she's not been in the real estate business and been a principal broker. And so we want to, one of the worst things a principal broker can do is not respond to us.
I have a quick question.
Commissioner Douglas.
Obviously, this one was dismissed, but I do agree that they should have responded. But let's just say it wasn't dismissed, and then we fine them $1,000 for failure to respond. Is there then still the additional requirement to respond after that $1,000 fine? If it hadn't been dismissed.
Attorneys can tell you that.
Yeah,
Ms. Ryan.
what would happen at this point is there would be two different consent orders sent out, one to the affiliate for their violation, and again, the sole issue that you would have determined would failure to respond to the principal broker. So that's all the principal broker would be responding to. And if there were a trial, as if there's a trial today, the issue will only be the issue of whether or not the person responded or at timely.
Ms. Ryan, a question about that. If, based on the facts that we had available from the original complaint, from the affiliate's response, and from legal's investigation, we were able to surmise that possibly there was a failure to supervise or some other violation by the principal broker, could we, in that situation, punish the principal broker not only for the failure to respond, but for a failure to supervise or other violations?
If a new complaint was open for failure to supervise, yes.
Okay. So the, for example, number 9 that we're looking at here, was that complaint that was opened against the principal broker for failure to supervise?
That's exactly right.
Okay,
But under the law, you have 10 days to respond regardless. But
right.
if it had been failed to supervise and we found that more information, or if after the fact we find it, you can always bring a failure to supervise complaint over.
So in this situation, the underlying facts as shown by the complaint and by the affiliate's response and other investigation doesn't suggest a failure to supervise by the principal broker.
That's correct.
But you could have a different case where a principal broker doesn't respond, but we do punish the principal broker for more than just the failure to respond,
Yes,
based on
we
the facts of that
yes.
case.
And because there was an issue there and they should have responded to it, yes.
Okay. Does that, Mr. Douglas, does that help to address your question?
Yes, sir, it does. I guess one of the reasons for my asking is that for some principal brokers, it might be worth it to pay a fine and not have to respond. So I was wondering if there was still an additional requirement after the fine to still respond, or maybe another fine down the road.
You can always bring a complaint if facts turn up anytime that show that there's a failure of supervision or some other failure of the law. You can always bring a new complaint, even if it's based on the same set of facts. If there's another violation because new information has been provided to us, we can always readdress the issue.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Grease.
Just as if subsequently we find out this broker did in fact respond, but it got lost somewhere in the file, we'll go back and adjust that decision as well.
And I did go back and look for that. I did, yes, because of the history we've had in that, and that's why I reached out personally asking for the response.
Okay, thanks. Does anybody else want to be heard on this particular issue? All right, hearing none, let's move on to number 10, please.
2017-025611. Complainant is a licensee who works for vacation rentals representing a rental owner. Complainant states that respondent had represented the rental owner and collected in excess of $2,000 to that owner. Rental owner honored existing reservation of rental after the purchase in December with the understanding that the income produced would be forwarded to the owner at the end of the month. Complainant, in representing owner, has been trying to collect these funds since March and promises have been made, but no money has been collected. Emails between complainant and respondent, and also respondent's legal counsel, show promises to pay, but as of the date of the filing of the complaint in late April, money was not paid. Respondent, through legal, states an apology for the manner in which this account was handled and states that on April 26th, respondent paid the amount due to complainant and that check was cashed on May 5th. My recommendation was a $1,000 civil penalty for violation of 6213-1047B, failing within a reasonable time to account for or remit any monies coming into the licensee's possession that belongs to others.
Ms. Hills.
Recommendation to accept council's
Motion.
recommendation. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Hill, seconded by Ms. Franks to accept council's recommendation of a $1,000 civil penalty. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Mr. Grease.
Just a procedural question. So this was a January, March, April complaint. And is it typical for us to be hearing it 6 months later?
We have 180 days to resolve a complaint. You typically get hundreds of complaints each month. Our paralegal, Rihanna, does a very good job of ferreting out what needs to be sent and heard on the next docket. As you can tell, we have numerous complaints every month that have to be addressed. So we get them in within the time period. So yes, sometimes it takes that long to get there because you get so many.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're on to number 11 now.
2017-026431. Complainant is licensee who states that respondent operates a separate real estate company that buys and resells the homes. Complainant states respondent provides owner financing of what appears to be inflated prices. Respondent states that nowhere in advertisement does it state any person or company is licensed or associated with a real estate company. Respondent states company is not engaged in unlicensed real estate activity and that respondent is not engaging in unlicensed activity. Respondent states that respondent is no longer licensed and that respondent surrendered license in early 16, but respondent does not do any unlicensed activity. Respondent states there's no form of owner financing and that website goes to great length to discuss program. Respondent states that none of the homes advertises are with inflated prices and the complainant has never been to a property to be even able to make this statement. Respondent states all property has been appraised by an independent bank prior to sale. After receiving response, complainant withdrew the complaint. In the advertisements, there are 2 or 3 licenses listed, and respondent does not list as a licensee. Nothing in the advertisement suggests any unlicensed activity of respondent. The homes would appear to be bought and sold in business name. Respondent is currently suspended due to failure to complete the terms of a previous consent order. Respondent did attempt to retire in February prior to suspension status, but did not have the required number of continuing education hours. Respondent's license, you should know, expired in April of 2017, and therefore my recommendation is close and flag should there be any attempt to reinstate.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
We have a motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Taylor to accept the recommendation to close and flag. Commissioner Hills?
I just have a question. So does the respondent own a separate real estate company that you can tell?
Respondent owns a company that buys and sells properties, but he has licensees doing the work for the buying and the selling of the property. He is not doing I can't tell from anything we have that shows that he is buying and selling the property. The company is buying and selling the property. And this company is comprised of various people.
And they're represented by licensees?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Grease.
So the LLC, the homes would appear to be bought and sold in business names, LLC. And the licensees
It's not, I'm not even
in that
cer-
company.
the licensees work for the company,
Mhm.
but they're not in front of you. The only person that is in front of you is this former licensee.
Okay.
The licensee, the person in front of you does not appear to doing any unlicensed activity at all. I can't tell from what I've got is that there are advertisements for buying and selling property, but it's the company property owned and there are licensees related to contact for buying and selling those properties.
Commissioner Hills, you have other questions?
It just always makes you wonder that the people in the community sometimes have a better idea of what's going on in the community. Thank you.
Chairman Grease?
okay, so I just want to follow through this on some dates. So this license was suspended October 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it was suspended because he hadn't completed requirements of a previous consent order. He had
That's
signed.
correct. And he attempted to retire it prior to that
Right.
and said it was put in suspended status.
Okay, so then comes along April of 2017, his license expires.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see what would happen. What would he try to reinstate? How would he?
He has a year to reinstate the license.
But it's suspended first,
And,
right?
and he'd have to satisfy the terms of the consent order before being reinstated, one way or the other.
So what takes priority? Let's just say he wants to pull it out. He pays the 6 months or 8 months penalty.
And the consent order obligations
That has to be handled.
before he can reinstate his license from suspension, the previous consent order. This particular thing would then be flagged, and if he did that, we could, if we wanted to, bring this back up and look at it
And that's
again.
where I'm trying to go.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like he did anything that you found. If it was an active license, you would recommend a dismissal.
I probably would, but then, if it comes back because it comes back, then we should look at it again at that point in time to see if anything has changed.
Okay, so just my simple mind here. So let's say he still wants to retire it.
Mhm.
First, he has to satisfy
The suspended license status.
by completing all the terms of the consent order.
That's correct.
And the education?
I think that was it, was the education that he did not
So this is probably
satisfy.
additional education, don't you think?
I thought there was,
8
he
hours a seat.
attempted
He
to retire, but he didn't have the required number of education hours.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So he can expire, though.
He can expire next,
His
he is
license can
it's
expire.
actually technically it's an
He's
expired
expired now.
license.
Expired
Yeah.
now.
And it's just that the year period, for, you can renew within that year, that doesn't end till next April.
So for him to either, if he decides to retire his license, try again. He's got to satisfy the consent
Mhm.
order, pay 6 months penalty or whatever it
Mhm.
turns out to be.
I think
And then he
that's-
can put it in retirement, or he can make it active.
Yeah, if he satisfies the term of consent order, he can put it in active status and then retire it, yes.
So so the close and flag part of it.
That part would be on his license number. And so there would be a ding, 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 before we do this, do we need to look at this?
Did he pay the $2,000 civil penalty?
I don't know.
Probably not.
Okay, thanks.
So the motion is to accept the recommendation to close and flag. Is there additional discussion or questions about the motion? Let's vote. All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Ms. Ryan, number 12, please.
Number 12 is long, sorry. 2017-027051. Complainant is a potential buyer of home and development where complainant already owned a lot. That lot was purchased in 2001 and recently decided not to build but wanted to purchase home in the same development. Complainant attempted to sell the lot in 2015 with the respondent as agent but was unsuccessful. Complainant contacted respondent to be agent in purchase of existing home and development and signed an exclusive buyer representation agreement that provided that the search was for a home in the development and the sources to be searched was the MLS. Complainant states that complainant's understanding was to look at existing homes. While viewing homes, complainant states respondent attempted to convince complainant to build on the existing lot with the help of respondent, and complainant declined, stating complainant was not interested. Complainant state that society was again suggested the complainant's spouse and again declined, and that complainant made it clear the complainant was not interested in service of licensee to build home on lot owned by complainant. Later in the same month, complainant states respondent called to state that complainant was contractually obligated to use respondent if complainant builds a home on complainant's lot. The next day, as complainant was leaving for home out of state, respondent texted complainant stating respondent had made an appointment with builder of respondent's choice to discuss building on lot, and complainant told respondent that complainant was not interested, to which respondent replied, "Okay, have a good trip." 3 days later, another text was sent to complainant from respondent stating that when complainant signed representation agreement, it was to represent complainant in buying home on market, FSBO, FBSO, or a custom build. Complainant replied and forwarded a copy to principal broker below, again rebuking claims, and asked where in the contract did it provide that respondent was entitled to commission if complainant decided to build a home on owned lot but did not receive a response. Several days later, complainant called respondent BB below and told BB how upset complainant was by the claims of respondent. In that call, complainant was told PB was not familiar with the contract terms but would review, and in subsequent conversations, complainant states respondent said that the contract did not make a direct reference to building home, that it was a gray area, but that PB supported respondent. Complainant states PB stated that complainant may have come to develop with no intention of buying existing home, and that firm would receive a percentage of any contract signed with builder or complainant's choice or would settle this dispute if paid $5,000. Respondent states that in 2014, complainant contacted respondent to sell lot but did not sell, and the listing was not extended at the end of that contract. Respondent states that when complainant came to town in March to buy a home, respondent showed them a home in the development. The price was over their stated budget, but complainant said complainant could forward the home. The offer was made, but it was a low offer, and while seller countered, complainant did not accept the offer. In the year prior, respondent states respondent did arrange for viewing other homes, but complainant canceled viewings after deciding not to come into the state. This year, in speaking with complainant, respondent asked if complainant was dealing with any other agent prior to the negotiation of the buyer's representation agreement, and was assured only working with respondent. When complainant came to town, the agreement was executed, and respondent told complainant that respondent represented complainant no matter what complainant decided on buying, including a FSBO, that respondent pursued for complainant, and further told complainant to tell any builders that complainant had an agent. Respondent states the complainant wanted to purchase an already built home and sell lot later. Respondent states the respondent showed many showings and states respondent did not try to tell complainant to build, and it was not relevant to respondent if complainant built a home or purchased an existing home. Respondent states respondent told complainant that price range to custom build would likely be out of compliance price range, but that complainant and respondent discussed floor plans. During the week complainant was in town, respondent states that respondent repeatedly told complainant to tell builders that complainant was represented and that it would be beneficial to have someone local to do whatever was needed on complainant's behalf as complainant lived out of state. Respondent told complainant about a floor plan respondent had built in the past, and complainant asked to see the plan. One of the existing homes shown to complainant twice, and respondent arranged the builder to be present at second showing to answer questions. Later, respondent learned from the builder that complainant was now considering building, and the respondent gave builder information about the lot. Complainant states complainant did not make appointment with builder, but only provided the respondent did not make appointment with builder, only provided a potential appointment. Respondent did send floor plan and email to complainant, and complainant did contact PB, who explained the commission commonly paid by local builders for buyers' agents, and that the contract between complainant and respondent stated a higher commission for no listed property, so there was a monetary advantage to allow respondent to continue working for complainant. Respondent states that PB did offer a smaller referral fee in lieu of commission as a possible solution that would allow respondent to back out of process so complainant could work with builder alone. Respondent states complainant was adamant about not working with respondent, not paying any commission or fees, and demanded a release, and when that was refused, complainant threatened to file complaints with BBB and TREC. Respondent states lot is not for sale in MLS, and there's no sign of the property, although it may be for sale by owner. Emails between the parties show that respondent fouled up the showings of existing homes in discussing bill with complainant, and complainant stating the complainant decided to proceed with initial plans of the bill, and the complainant did not agree there was any contract for a respondent to represent complainant in that process. The buyer's representation agreement provides that the general description is 3-1 blank 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 village with a price range of $250,000 to $450,000. Sources to search list the MLS and provide that complainant's responsibility is to purchase property exclusively through respondent in the contract period. There is nothing in the contract to alert complainant that property purchase would include building home on the lot already owned by complainant. Therefore, my recommendation was a $1,000 civil penalty for violation of 6213-312B20, improper or dishonest dealing, and or violation of 6213-404, failing to be loyal to the interests of the client, plus 8 hours of continuing education and contract writing.
You've heard the legal report. Discussion or motion? All right, we have a motion by Ms. Franks. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Hills. Discussion. Commissioner Franks, you want to talk about it?
13312B20. Any conduct, whether of the same or a different character from that specified in the subsequent B that constitutes improper, fraudulent, or dishonest dealing. And I guess, what did you find, Ms. Ryan, that was improper, fraudulent, or dishonest?
Well, if indeed that the intent was, and I cannot tell you this from looking at the contract, the intent was that the agent felt that no matter what she or he did, that they would be paid a commission, then that should have been in the contract. And they kept on acting like it was, even though the complainant kept on saying, I'm not interested in building, I want to purchase a home, I'm not interested in building. And then when they changed their mind to build on their own lot, this was brought up. I think that was improper. If that was indeed the intent from the beginning, that should have been laid out in the contract exactly for that person to know exactly what their responsibility was.
And you have a copy of that buyer's representation?
I did. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mr. Bloom.
Yes, Ms. Ryan, does it say in that buyer representation agreement that the places to be searched for this property are only in the MLS?
That's all it said.
Well, the lot wasn't in the MLS.
The lot was owned by the complainant.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, they state in another section that they said that the complainant in buying a home in a market, they're going to be searching in the market, FBSO, or custom build. But the buyer representation agreement just said MLS.
It's an MLS.
Okay.
Was there a reason that you only found your recommendation was $1,000 civil penalty for 6213-312 and not a civil penalty for 6213-404?
Well, because I wasn't sure how you all would look at it. I mean, you could do a $2,000 civil penalty. I'm not certain that that would necessarily be right. I was giving you a choice of, I think it's a violation of either one of the two laws. It really depends on how strong you feel about either one of the two. The number 312 is very broad. Failing to be loyal to the interests of the client, that's also broad. You know, they could say, I was trying to do the interests of the client because I was trying to help them find the best builder for their property. But that's why I included it for you guys to have a discussion about which one you are most comfortable with.
I kind of catch myself looking at it from when a buyer thought they were going to do something, and then at some point changed their mind and decided maybe they were going to build on their own lot. The mistake the agent made was not going back and changing up the buyer's rep agreement. And because that agent made that change, it looked like the buyer is now taking advantage of that and not compensating them.
Well,
And the buyer also, I mean, it looks like the buyer kind of used the agent a little bit by doing the appointments and telling them, hey, tell everybody that I'm represented, would tell these builders I'm represented. So it kind of looks like the buyer the buyer used the agent a little bit.
well, and that is certainly the opinion of the respondent and the respondent PB. But when I look at the documentation between them all, I don't see that. I see the complainant being basically saying they really want to purchase. Don't forget they've had this lot since 2001, and they didn't build on it. They weren't going to build, and they decided that, and they tried to sell the lot. And then they were trying to sell a lot, and they had planned to buy into the same development. And they came and looked at homes in the development, looked at a bunch of them, made an offer on at least one home. Didn't go through. But I can see why you might feel that way, but I will tell you that I can't get that from the documentation I have. But most importantly, if the agent had been smart enough to put that in the contract, we wouldn't be here regardless. And they did not. And
But did they end up building the house?
No, well, as far as I know, at the time of this, that nothing had
They've
been
not done anything?
Ms. Hills?
And this agent had worked with them before.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, I
The
will
year
tell you.
prior, so they were familiar with them.
And when they were asked, if the complainant was asked, are you working with anybody else? No, we trust you, agent. We want to work with you again because you attempted to help us to sell the lot. And that's where also the problem is because it wasn't. There was nothing in the contract to say about building the home on their own lot, that they would be entitled to commission on that. And I think they felt betrayed by the respondent, to be honest with you. And I can see it's a two-way street here, but one of the two parties has a bigger responsibility than the other.
Commissioner Taylor.
I want to ask a question. Was the buyer's representation still in force? Because they'd been working, this had gone on over some length of time, first of all.
Well, the buyer's representation agreement, as far as I know, yes, this was a short period of time. It was still in force.
All right. Well, the comment, I think the agents are used a lot for a lot of things, and it's up to us to dot our I's and cross our T's. And I think we can reach for any reason, but the fact is, it wasn't, the agreement that was signed did not address homes to be built, and most especially didn't address a home to be built on his lot. So I think we have to go, and has the motion been made?
It has.
All right, okay.
For a $1,000 civil penalty.
Yeah, I think that we can only go on our facts. We can suppose a lot.
Commissioner Franks.
My husband is a developer and builder, and so we do a lot of new home construction. I think one of the places where this licensee made a mistake was sending them out to builders. Because a builder loves people who don't have representation, because they can give them a better price, and people know that. So I think that was what the agent's first problem. It was just go out and look at builders and that kind of thing. So it was sloppy all along.
And actually, one of the complaints from the complaint was they made meeting plans with builders, and they didn't want to meet with those builders. Mm-hmm. So they were being very aggressive. The respondent was being very aggressive about it, but the complainant was also being very aggressive back.
All right. You've heard the motion for a $1,000 civil penalty. Is there any additional discussion?
And not
Ms. Ryan?
yes, I just want to ask, and not the 8 hours continuing education and contract writing, just the $1,000 civil penalty?
Did the
No,
motion, did your motion, I believe you did.
Yeah, I would want them to me, I'd rather give somebody education than a civil penalty. So yes, the education, 8 hours in contract writing.
So the motion is for the $1,000 civil penalty and the 8-hour course, and that was your second as well, Commissioner Hills,
Yes.
correct? Commissioner Taylor.
But we have to add in above the required time and within a time frame.
That's right. That's part of the motion, that it would be 8 hours in addition to any other education that's required by law or other consent order, and it would have to be completed within 180 days.
I have a quick question.
Commissioner Douglas.
Is the respondent still pursuing commission? And what kind of recourse do they have?
I don't know. And now you're asking me a question as a lawyer. It is not a case I would take.
So, to follow up on your question, so I'm struggling trying to find the damage to the complainant.
The damage to the complainant was how that complainant was being treated by the respondent and being demanded to pay money that they did not think they owed.
So is that a contractual issue, not a real estate
Well,
law issue?
if there was an issue concerning about collecting, that would be contractual. So
That's, to me, why I'm inclined to vote against the motion, because to me this sounds more like contract than it does about...
except you have to understand that the way this is my opinion, the way the complainant was being treated by somebody they respected and hired to represent them is that it was an action to try to get money from them that they did not feel they owed pursuant to the terms of their contract, and that therefore this person was acting either improperly or not loyal to the interests of the person they were representing, which is under your law. As far as the collection itself, it definitely would be something would be done in civil court.
Commissioner Douglas.
The way they were being treated is a very subjective thing.
It is.
Right? It's not language in the contract.
No, it's
And
not.
so I tend to agree with the chairman here that this seems about like a contractual issue. I mean, there's a dispute going on here, certainly, but I'll probably tend to vote against this motion.
Commissioner Wood.
I'd like to offer a substitute amendment to the motion so far.
All right, that's proper.
I would like, instead of this, I want to have no civil penalty, but that the respondent have to take a 4-hour contracts class in addition to their regular continuing education.
Instead of 8 hours.
Yes, I don't really know of an 8-hour
They're
class.
usually 4 hours.
Yeah, they're usually 4 hours that I've seen. And so it's 4 hours and no civil penalty.
For violation of what?
Let's think there's sloppy paperwork. Now, what rule number that is, I don't know.
There isn't one for
Okay.
sloppy paperwork.
Or maybe failing to be loyal to the interest of the client. It may be the better one to choose than improper or dishonest dealing. I don't think he was dishonest. I think he was being aggressive.
Well,
Mr. Hills.
but so when you're saying you're to pay me money because the contract says this, when the contract doesn't say this.
That's true.
And so this person could have paid him money and then figured out that they shouldn't have paid him money. They would have been here in front of us and we could have said, so sorry, so sad, we can't do anything about the money you paid him. We can only do something about the contract didn't say that. Fortunate for this member of the public, he didn't pay him the money when they were demanding that he owed him the money, which if this is what the contract said for the buyer's representation agreement, he wouldn't have owed him the money.
I'm going to get back to your motion in just a second, Mr. O, but I do want to ask a question to Ms. Ryan. 404.1 talks about obeying the lawful instructions
Oh, well,
of the client.
Yes.
And did the licensee disobey the lawful instructions when
No,
they
no.
continued to bring up this issue of building on the lot when the client said that's not what they wanted?
Well, you could certainly say that as well. Yes. You could say that the complainant constantly said no, and they constantly pushed back. You could say that. I should have put it was 404.2. 404.2 is what I was saying about being loyal to the interests of the client. But you
So
could
do you think
make
there's
the
a
argument.
violation of one?
Well, you could make the argument that there was a violation of one because the complainant said absolutely they were interested in purchasing a already manufactured home, already built home.
All right, so let's go back to Mr. Wood's motion. Mr. Wood wanted to have a 4-hour class, and the question was for violation of what statute? Which one do you want to say, Mr. Wood?
Is there a rule that addresses competency?
Common sense?
No.
How about this
Everybody would
right
be
here?
in jail.
He said competency.
Oh, competence.
Competency.
Well, that would be 4031 to exercise reasonable skill and care in providing services to parties.
All parties in the transaction, yes. You
Or
can-
how about a 6213-404? Number 1 says, obey all lawful instructions of the client when the instructions are within the scope of the agency agreement between the license and the licensee's client.
You can make that argument because, again, that was not in it. You can
Then
make that argument.
That's the argument I want to go with.
All right, so Mr. Wood's motion is a substitute motion for a 4-hour contracts class in addition to any other continuing education requirement to be completed within 100 days on contracts, and it's based on a violation of 6213-4041, failure to obey the lawful instructions of the client. Now, that's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Franks. Commissioner Taylor, discussion.
The thing that I want to state is regardless of what the contract says, you shouldn't be paid on the house that's going to be built until the house is built and finished. So the house is not built and finished. Therefore, this is a moot point as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
It hasn't closed.
Right. Okay. So the motion is for the 4-hour contracts class. Let's go ahead and vote on that. If you think that there shouldn't be any punishment at all, you'll vote no. If you think there should be more punishment, you'll vote no. If you think this is right, you'll vote yes. Let's have a roll call vote, please, Ms. Maxwell.
Commissioner Gary Bloom,
Yes.
Commissioner Rick Douglas,
Yes.
Commissioner Marcia Franks,
Yes.
Commissioner Diane Hills,
No.
Commissioner Johnny Horn. No. Commissioner Austin McMullen. Commissioner Fontaine Taylor.
No.
Commissioner Bobby Wood.
Yes.
Chairman John Grease.
Yes.
Austin, did you want us to come back or do you want to?
I'll vote no. Okay. The motion passes 5-4 with Commissioners Horn, Hills, McMullen, and Taylor. Taylor voting no.
Can I change my vote?
So the 4-hour consent order is what will be proposed. Okay?
Thank you.
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, can I bring up a
Chairman
procedural
Grease.
point?
Yes.
I would like to suggest that when the executive director does a roll call vote, that there's really no need for a title for any of these people up here, at least in my opinion. I don't know. Do you all want to be called?
I kind of like
Do you like the chairman?
He wouldn't be called chairman.
I would like to be Queen Marcia.
Well, we'll get that. I just want to
Yeah,
make sure we get it correct.
This can go off the rails pretty fast. So
Yeah.
let's go on to number 13, please.
Number 13, 2017-027071, respondent's principal broker above. Respondent states the complainant misunderstands the terms of the contract. Respondent states that sources to be searched does not mean that complainant is obligated only if choosing an existing home listed in MLS, and that respondent told complainant there was a broad scope, meaning respondent not responsible to search out all obscured sources. Respondent states that complainant's contention was only committed if purchasing an existing MLS listing is wrong, and that respondent pointed out that in addition to not mentioning custom building, it also does not mention FSBOs. The $5,000 was only part of the conversation regarding commission owed, and that respondent told complainant the agreement called for 4%, but that most builder automatically include 2 to 2.5% for buyer's agent, and then after giving examples stated that $5,000 would be compromised to allow agent out of the process if complainant chose not to work with agent on custom build. Respondent states that concerning meeting with the builder, agent above did not set up meeting, but simply checked schedule to arrange if complainant wanted to take advantage of opportunity. Respondent states that buyer representation agreement assures buyers that they have full devotion and loyalty of respondent licensees, and without the agreement, buyers could use respondents and not pay for work after work is performed. Respondent states that agent took initiative to get the best possible outcome for complainant. Respondent states that respondent believes complainant thought complainant could get out of contract by not being upfront about complainant's intention, thinking complainant could get the assistant of agent for a week and then leave town and then do something not covered in the agreement. Respondent states respondent believes the complainant told agent that there was no desire to build and that wanted to purchase an existing home, and this was by design. Again, the contract does not mention any custom building, and the work done in question was showing off of homes in a 1-week period. Complainant did state was interested in existing homes and did not make any request for helping a building home on the owned lot, and there was never any discussion about building a home. My recommendation was $1,000 for failure to supervise in violation of 6213B12, 312B15. Plus, I also had an 8-hour continuing education and contracts.
Commissioner Hills.
How long is the broker class? Is it 8 hours?
The core
The new
class?
broker class.
I thought it was 8.
Yeah,
I think it's 8.
I think it's 8. One day. Yeah. I'm not positive about that.
I think it is, 'cause I think we're having one tomorrow.
Commissioner Hills, would you like to make a motion?
Make a motion that the broker attend the broker class, 8-hour class, within 180 days, in addition to any hours that he may have, or if he's grandfathered in addition to those hours.
And you're saying the principal broker core class?
Yes. And and 62134041.
All right. The motion is to require the respondent to attend the 8-hour principal broker core class.
$1,000
Okay.
failure to supervise.
Okay. So basically, the motion is to accept council's recommendation, but with the 8 hours being the principal broker core class instead of in contracts. And you also want to cite 4041 as one of the basis for the violation.
Maybe it should be the contracts. I have not attended that broker class. Is either one of us
The
anyone?
reason we have that class is because there was no classes for principal brokers. They've probably all been to contract classes. This goes over contracts and lots of other things. I would say, though, it would need to be for failure to supervise. The other one is what the agent did. That 4041 was what the agent did.
I know, but he's...
So it would have to be failure to supervise.
Leave it at failure to supervise. But I've not seen the broker class. Have you, Bobby?
I have not.
I have seen it, and I know that that TAR did one, and they did a simulcast. It went to 5 different cities across the state.
So is the contract better than the broker course?
No, the broker course is what I'm talking about. That was simulcast.
I mean, for this.
I think it would be, because we're talking about failure
Okay.
to supervise. We're not
Okay.
talking about the contract wasn't written
All
right.
right, so I'll
And they'll
clarify.
touch on contracts in that. And I would also suggest that you not say that 8-hour class, just in case it is longer than 8 hours.
Okay. So I will clarify if that will help you.
All right, so the motion is to have a $1,000 civil penalty for failure to supervise.
Yes.
And to attend the principal broker core class in addition to any other education that's
Correct.
required, and that be completed within 180 days of the consent order.
Correct. Thank you. You did
Okay.
a wonderful job.
Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner Grease,
At the time we voted, I'd ask you to divide the question.
you want to vote on each part separately?
Yes.
Okay.
Additional discussion on the motion.
I just kind of think that's kind of severe considering the agent just got a 4-hour class.
The
The
$1,000
part-
civil penalties seems like too much to me.
Commissioner Hills.
The part that gets me is where the agency agreement, so the broker is sitting there with the agency agreement that says that it's for looking at houses, not for building anything. It's for looking at houses for $250 to $450. Yet, in his response, he says that it's to cover everything. It's to cover FISBOs, it's to cover custom building.
But that wasn't in writing. It was in writing?
No.
Okay, so.
That's the respondent's reply. That's what he is saying that he told the buyer.
And that's not true.
And it's absolutely not true. But that's what he's saying, that he told him and I think he was trying to just hold out somebody for money. And I think that was just improper. And if he's sitting there looking at a buyer's representative that if this is what it said, and I'm going on this is what the buyer's agent said, as a broker, he cannot interpret what it says. And that's my concern. I can understand the agent, but not the broker. That's why.
Great. Additional discussion? Okay, we've had a request to divide the vote, and without objection, we will do that. And so the first vote will be on whether to do the $1,000 civil penalty. The second vote will be on whether to require the attendance at the core class. If you think both should be required, you'll vote yes on both. If you think just one should be required, then you'll vote yes and no. If you don't think anything should be required, you'll vote no on all of it. So the first issue is the $1,000 civil penalty. All those in favor? Do you want a recorded vote? Okay, let's make her earn her keep today, huh? Okay. Ms. Maxwell, will you call the roll? This is on the $1,000 civil penalty.
Yes.
I think we're just now getting used to the name Miss Maxwell because every time you say Miss Maxwell, I look up thinking Eve.
Eve, and it's not Eve. Okay. Gary Bloom,
Yes.
Rick Douglas,
No.
Marcia Franks,
No.
Diane Hills,
Yes.
Johnny Horn,
Yes.
Austin McMullen,
Yes.
Fontaine Taylor,
Yes.
Bobby Wood,
No.
John Grease.
Okay.
I've got 5 to 4.
I do too, but I can't get my microphone to work.
Chris.
Okay. Yes, 5 to 4 with Commissioners Franks, Wood, Grease, and who else voted no?
Rick Douglas.
Douglas. Okay. Douglas voted no. So the second motion is for the 8-hour, not 8 hour, but the principal broker class, however long it lasts. Does anybody want to have a roll call vote on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of the principal broker class, please vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed vote no.
No.
That motion carries 8-1 with Commissioner Wood voting against. Thank you, Ms. Ryan.
That concludes it, and I will now turn it over to Ms. Smith. And y'all have a safe trip back.
You
You're
too.
going back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any request at this time for a break, or do we want to keep going with Ms. Smith? Hearing none, let's move on. Ms. Smith, number 14, please.
Before you will have a hearing next month. There's a hearing next month on your second day, just so that you can be prepared.
Okay, thank you.
If we're not going to take, if we want to power through this, which I can do, I do need to take a quick restroom break.
Okay,
1 minute,
let's
like
take
literally
let's
1
take a
minute. I'm sorry.
5-minute break. Thank you.
But I'll be able to power
Okay,
through it.
very good. 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and get started. Now that Ms. Smith is back, when Mr. Horn is available, I'm sure he'll join us.
Okay. And I'm just going to ask everyone to bear with me. My allergies have taken over my face and my body today. I'm doing the best I can.
Thank you.
But I'm not contagious or anything. It's just
Thank you for sticking with us. Yeah.
So number 14
Yes.
is 2017-012-381, and this is a represent.
Let's go to the new information, please.
Council reviewed the statements that were provided to complainant from respondent and found that the statements are in the firm name. The firm has an active license. Council has requested proof from respondent and complainant that respondent has provided all corrected statements, copies of missing statements, and copies of rent checks, all rent that was collected by respondent, and missing end-of-year statements to complainant as she stated she would do in her response to the complaint. Respondent has not responded to council's request, and complainant has verified that respondent has done nothing that she said she would do to fix these issues. Complainant has been unable to produce any documentation requested and does not specifically remember who the rent checks were made out to, but stated that they would check with their bank. Council has not heard back from complainants since this last conversation. The new recommendation is a consent order assessing a civil penalty in the amount of $1,000 for a violation of TCA 62-13-4031, $2,000 in civil penalties for 2 violations of TCA 62-13-312B5, and a $1,000 civil penalty for a violation of TCA 62-13-4034. And council also just wants to note that the respondent is suspended for E&O and has been since March 8th. She has not done anything to fix that. Her license will also expire if it wasn't suspended, or it actually expired on September 28th. So she has a lot of things stacked against her, or I would have recommended suspension.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of council. Is there a motion? Thank you, Commissioner Bloom, for the motion, seconded by Commissioner Wood. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 15, please.
2017-012-401, and this is also a represent. Respondent is or I'll go down to the new information. Council conducted internal research regarding respondent's license and found that it has been expired since April 6, 2017. All issues contained in the complaint occurred while the respondent's license was active. Council also wants to iterate that although a complaint was internally generated and opened against respondent for failure to supervise his affiliate broker, complainant later sent in a separate and direct complaint against respondent, and this complaint was changed to a consumer-initiated complaint. Complainant provided a copy of an email from respondent stating that he was, quote, removing himself from the situation, end quote, once complainant was in touch with the affiliate broker, and respondent failed to assist complainant further. Council recommends assessing the same civil penalties against respondent as are assessed against the affiliate broker above, and assessing a civil penalty for failure to supervise the affiliate broker. So the recommendation is a consent order assessing a civil penalty in the amount of $1,000 for failure to supervise, in addition to a $1,000 civil penalty for a violation of TCA 62-13-4031, $2,000 in civil penalties for 2 violations of TCA 62-13-312B5, and a $1,000 civil penalty for a violation of TCA 62-13-4034.
What does that total?
That one, $5,000. So it's $4,000 for the affiliate broker, and then $5,000 for the additional failure to supervise. That's why it's $1,000.
Commissioner Hills. We have a motion by Commissioner Hills, seconded by Commissioner Taylor, to accept the recommendation of council. Commissioner Hills, discussion.
Are there any other licensees at this firm?
I I don't know that offhand. I could probably find out.
And I'm going right with her same question. Now that the broker's license has expired, is the firm license been pulled because they don't have a broker? Or has there been a new broker put in there?
Can we look that up, please?
Yes.
That's a Pandora's box there.
I think it's too important that we just not look it up. Yeah.
Here, I'll try it.
Cookies? Have y'all got something to eat down
Oh,
there?
I can't try it. I don't have a name.
I know it's painful for you to eat those.
No.
I have to run 4 more miles.
Doing. I just so used to going there. I thought, what am I looking at? I will say that recently I've had 3 people who tell us that they thought we knew the names of these things. I was surprised.
There's 2 bottles. There are 2 bottles.
You're fine.
So we're gonna see if Rihanna can help us with this, and Sarah's gonna go call because we're having some issues.
Okay.
Can we come back to that?
Yes. The motion there was made by Ms. Hills and seconded by Ms. Taylor. We will just come back to that once you've gotten the additional information.
Thank you.
All right, number 16.
2017-023-851. And this is a very long summary. I am prepared to paraphrase it for you if you like, just because it's a result of an audit and it's a lot of dates. Would that be okay?
That's a capital idea.
Okay. So this complaint was opened by our department after an office audit was conducted at respondent's firm for the time period of January 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2015. And basically the audit report sampled 20 contracts, and out of those 20, 17 showed on the audit report. So in the auditor's opinion, they were delayed past the allowed time, which is supposed to be a reasonable time, or what the contract states the earnest money should be deposited by. So the delays range from 1 to 8 business days, according to the audit report. And the audit report also provided a very, very detailed records, the corresponding bank records showing when deposits were made, and then a copy of each of the 17 contracts. Most of them were just purchase and sale agreements. There were a few that were new home contracts. So other than that, they were very basic contracts, real estate contracts. And respondent just says she's been licensed for 24 years. She's never had a complaint filed against her with any governing body or local association. And the majority of what appeared to be delays in the audit report were due to the failure of the buyer or the buyer's agent to deliver the earnest money. And she explains that most of the buyers don't hand deliver due to the location of their office. They mail their payments in, which once she provided her, she had very, very detailed records with the envelope showing when she received each check for each of those contracts. So once I compared the date of the receipt of the earnest money to the day it was deposited, the delays were not as long as they seemed in the audit report. And I laid it out specifically in the last paragraph of the summary. So the delays really ranged from 1 day from the receipt of earnest money to 8 days. But after looking through the records, I didn't feel like it was an unreasonable delay. And the respondent talked to the auditor and asked what she could do to become in compliance, and he recommended a 7-day time frame. And that wasn't really explained, but what I assume he meant was, as long as you deposit the money 7 days from the day you receive it, then that should bring you into compliance, which was confusing to me because the delays were only up to 8 days, according to the audit report. So despite that, the respondent has implemented changes in her procedures, and I've laid those out here. For purchase and sale agreements, there'll always be a 7-day time frame for delivery of earnest money when the buyer will be mailing it. The respondent will always explain the importance of the buyer selecting a time frame that can actually be met, considering whether it's going to be hand delivered or mailed. And if it's not going to be delivered, or if it's not received by the deadline, respondent's going to make sure to write an amendment that everyone signs and agrees to. And when it comes to new home contracts that don't specify a date, she's enforcing a strict 3-day policy until they work that out. Respondents already talked to her builders about this issue. But until they put those terms in their contracts, it's going to be a 3-day policy. So with all of that said, I felt that the respondent took this very seriously. I felt that the respondent kept excellent records and was able to account for everything that was done, down to the time of day that it was done. And I feel like a letter of warning would be sufficient, since she also...
Accept council's recommendation.
Second. Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Wood, to accept the recommendation of a letter of warning. Discussion, Commissioner Hills.
I just have a question, and I know different areas do different things. So is this that another agency has the buyer, yet they're to deposit it with her, like as a listing company or something? Is that why it's mailed in?
It can go to either one. We don't have anything standard.
Well, so I was wondering.
The problem is the time frame that they're depositing the earnest money does not match up with what's on the contract.
I know, but when she said they would mail it in, and they're
Yeah.
50 miles away, and they would mail it in.
But I think what the auditor's trying to say, if everything's going to be mailed in, then maybe you should
You
not
need to
agree in the
adjust,
contract to
yes.
2 days. Maybe you need to agree to 7
agree.
days. Or when it comes in, you need to do an amendment to the contract.
To adjust it.
So that however you're acting, it needs to match what your contract
It
is.
does.
My concern, I still agree with the motion. My concern was that 85% of them were wrong. That was my concern.
Mhm.
That there was not like they were missing them for 30 days and weren't collecting them, but, I mean,
The amount.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
the percent of them that were, that
But
it may match.
They
concerned
tried to
me, but-
keep the.
Yeah. But maybe now they'll watch it.
Yes. I'm good.
All right, let's vote on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 17, please.
2017-028-021. Complainant is a property management firm that leases houses, condos, duplexes, etc. Respondent personally rented one side of a duplex from complainant in April of 2015 until complainant issued a 30-day notice to vacate in February of 2017. Complainant had received 2 calls from the same neighbor, first stating that that respondent, that needs to be respondent, was using the property as an Airbnb, and then to notify them that there was a notice from the city codes department posted to the duplex door. Complainant spoke with a representative from the city codes department, and he stated that respondent received a citation for failing to license the property as an Airbnb and had a court date. Complainant provided a copy of the advertisement of the Airbnb posted by respondent to Airbnb's website, which clearly states that respondent was trying to rent out her part of the duplex as an Airbnb, and also states that she has many other properties to rent as Airbnbs. Respondent doesn't understand why this complaint is a matter for Trek and didn't think it was a big deal since she wasn't using her license to operate the Airbnb. Respondent states that she never allowed anyone to stay at the apartment without her being there, and on a few occasions, she had a guest sleep in the upstairs bedroom for 1 to 2 nights at a time while she was there. Respondent further states that she did not rent the duplex with the intention of renting it as an Airbnb, and only on a few occasions with her supervision did she do that. And I realize that is contradictory, but that is what her response stated. Respondent explains that her other Airbnbs are owned by her family and are all, quote, 100% fully legal with a Type 2 permit, end quote. Respondent was soliciting the duplex as an Airbnb rental without disclosing to the owner the true intention of using the duplex as an Airbnb. Respondent's advertisement did disclose that she was a licensee. The recommendation is a $1,000 civil penalty for violation of TCA 62-13-31220 for improper dealings and a 4-hour completion of marketing, advertising, and social media compliance course, which is a course that Rihanna and I found that we know is in place right now, specifically for advertising issues. For those 4 hours to be above and beyond the hours required to be completed within 180 days of the consent order being entered.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Horn to accept recommendation. Discussion?
Did the lease say anything that she could not sublet the property?
Yes, it specifically had a paragraph that said that she could not sublet, that no one could stay there that was not on the lease or on the application.
Okay. Well, wouldn't this be an issue in General Sessions Court rather than us?
I feel like it definitely should be something that General Sessions can handle, but I also feel like respondent, because she said in the Airbnb advertisement that she's a licensee, hey, if you want to buy a home, let me know. Hey, she was kind of just using it in two different ways. Therefore, I felt like she was acting as an agent halfway in posting that advertisement, and she should have notified the lessor of her intentions to make a profit off of it. And that's what I found was improper to do as an agent, knowing better.
Yeah.
Right, and she was obviously aware that it needed permits
And I
because
can tell you, there's a lot of international, a lot. People are renting properties and then subbing them out as Airbnbs. But I do know the Nashville government is clamping down on that. So I can't imagine that they would clamp down on her if she only had 2 or 3 people come,
Right.
Concern is on the improper dealings. I'm still thinking it's improper dealings, but she's not, the improperness is not the use of her license. She's just being a bad person.
Yeah, I definitely had difficulty picking out what statute that would apply here. And I talked a lot about this with Robin and Rihanna, and it's the only thing we could kind of come up with that we thought could fit.
What if we didn't give her a civil penalty and we just gave her,
warning letter.
well, some kind of education still? She's an affiliate.
Should know better what a contract says and what the rentals are and what a lease says. So I think
I don't know if she did it in her capacity as a licensee, though.
You always are a licensee, though. You can't take that out of her.
But if you don't want to give her a civil penalty in her capacity as a licensee, then how can we also make her take education?
Well, you can, I would rather give it, I'll say it every time, I'd rather give education as a civil penalty. I would rather people learn from their mistake than be mad we gave them a
The
penalty.
education is still for violating a rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying that we're not going to give a civil penalty because she didn't violate a rule in her capacity as an agent. Then how can we also make her take education hours?
Well, I'm
The
saying.
civil penalty is the money.
Yeah.
I
Right.
think most people will look at the education as a penalty.
But we would
too.
make her take education because she violated some rule, correct? And we're saying she didn't violate the rule, therefore we're not going to give a civil penalty then. I mean, am I thinking wrong? I mean,
So it seems to me like it's clear the respondent violated her lease.
Yes.
But I think licensees probably violate their lease all the time in
Yes.
some form or fashion. I'm not sure that's within our purview to handle.
Right.
The only question might be with the advertisement she ran, and she indicates she's a licensee. I don't know if she put her firm name or did anything you're supposed to do in an advertisement. So if I was going to go anywhere, I think I'd go toward the advertising, but not toward the violation of the terms of release.
So do we want to give her the 4 hour?
Collecting monies, says you're collecting rentals, collecting rentals as a licensed person without her broker?
Isn't she collecting rent on property that she owns, that she's leasing, or that she has controls, yeah, not owns, but controls, that she has the right to personally, not on behalf of
Even
somebody
though
else.
the lease doesn't say she has the right to do that. Yeah.
Right, yeah, that's a,
And you wonder if in her rental agreements, B&B, if she's saying that she is a licensee on that rental agreement for the,
Well, the first problem is she couldn't get a permit if she was not the owner.
Depends where you are.
Huh?
It depends on where you are.
Oh, really?
Some places don't require a permit for a B&B.
Well, she was saying that she had permits.
Which is not a Broker Act issue, right?
No, Airbnbs are not.
so do we have a motion?
I think you had a motion to accept council's recommendation.
yeah, I thought we had one.
Okay. So the motion is to accept the recommendation of the $1,000 civil penalty
1260.
and the 4 hours of education.
So did she have to disclose that she's doing, she has personal interest in her dealings in real estate?
To why?
Oh, it's only when buying and selling.
Yeah, I think
property for
there was
themselves.
something that told, like, there was a few words in there that made it not applicable.
It's only buying and selling.
I'm ready to vote.
All right, let's vote. All those in favor will vote aye. Anybody in favor?
Yeah, I don't think.
All right, well, say aye. Let's try it again.
I thought you were just warming up.
At this time, if you're in favor of the motion, which is to accept council's recommendation on number 17, at this time, vote aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, vote no.
No.
Let's have a roll call vote.
Gary Bloom,
Yes.
Rick Douglas,
No.
Marcia Franks,
No.
Diane Hills,
Yes.
Johnny Horn, Austin McMullen,
No.
Fontaine Taylor, Bobby Wood, John Grease,
No.
That motion fails 4-5 with Horn, Taylor, Bloom, and Hills voting yes. Okay, do we have another motion?
I'd like to make a motion to dismiss.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Douglas to dismiss. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Horn. I think we've talked about it a lot. Let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of the motion to dismiss, please vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed vote no.
No.
I think that motion failed.
More discussion.
Okay. That motion failed 2-7 with Commissioners Wood and Douglas voting yes. Is there another motion?
I'd like to move that the recommendation of council be adopted insofar as it talked about a 4-hour class regarding marketing, advertising, and social media compliance.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Grease and a second by Ms. Hills for the 4-hour course. Let's vote on that. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed vote no.
No.
No. That motion passes 6-3 with McMullen, Horn, and Douglas voting no. All right, that's progress. Moving on, number 18.
Sorry, I have one question about that. So
Yes.
are we in an agreement that I can cite the statute for improper dealings in the consent order for this continuing education? It's just advertising.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to use the advertising.
So misleading, untruthful.
Yes.
Thank you. (2017-028491), and the respondent is the principal broker for the affiliate broker in the complaint above. And the respondent also does not feel that the complaint should involve her or her firm, as the affiliate broker was acting outside of the normal business of the firm. Respondent understands her responsibility to oversee her agents and her responsibility to make sure all advertising is in compliance with TREC rules, but feels there is no way for her to become aware of the affiliate broker's actions in this particular complaint. If respondent would have known that the affiliate broker was advertising in such a way, she would have advertised or advised her appropriately. But as this was a personal matter for the affiliate broker, respondent denies failing to supervise her. Counsel agrees with respondent's argument that this was a personal matter for the affiliate broker and that there was no way for respondent to know of the actions complained of, and recommends dismissal.
Motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Taylor to dismiss. Discussion?
So this is advertising.
I'm not sure we can say
Commissioner Bloom, will you push the button on your mic, please?
Sure, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
I'm not sure we can say that the principal broker is absolved of a responsibility of marketing and advertising from one of her agents. I know this is a continuing argument about how much you're responsible for, but the law makes it real clear. If you're the principal broker, you're responsible for your affiliate broker's actions, and that includes advertising.
Commissioner Grease.
My argument against that would be that she was advertising for personal benefit, not on behalf of a third party. And she was trying to sublease her own apartment.
So her license is for leasing, selling, and that includes what she was doing.
I understand your argument. I'm just giving you what I would think. A broker in this case might not catch it because the girl was doing it, or the guy was doing it for his or her personal use. Just my thought.
And not as a listed property or
Yeah.
something.
Do we know where she was advertising? Or he, or whoever it is?
I know that it was on Airbnb.com, their website.
Well, I'll
the
be
only one
honest,
I
as a
saw.
principal broker, I'm not checking Airbnb.
That's how I felt, especially when it is just one single property.
And there's Home Away, there's tons of different places, and I don't think a principal broker should be expected that, I mean, had they known, I think it would be different. I also think it's different that when they did know, that they have stopped it and have, said that they wouldn't have allowed it in the first place. But they didn't know. That's where I have the hard part, Gary, is that there's, as a principal broker, you can't know every single thing that your agents do. I'd like to be able to hold her responsible, or he responsible for this, but there's nothing in the evidence that shows me that they had any idea it was even happening. So how can you penalize someone who didn't even know something was happening?
Yeah, this is a constant concern for us because there's people I know that are probably in your firm who are managing properties for others, and you don't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a violation.
Right. And when I found out, I had one that I had that problem with, and I let them go immediately.
No, but I'm
But
just
if you
saying
don't
that
know,
goes
you
on.
can't even let them go. You can't see their paperwork if you don't know.
No, I know that, but the law is pretty clear about who's responsible for that.
But how can you be responsible for something?
Then, I don't know, but I'm just saying the law is pretty clear about who's responsible.
I just think it's asking too much.
I agree with Marcia, but I agree with Gary. I'm going to support the is. I mean, we see things all the time and you go, oh my gosh, and how long has that been going on? And 'cause you just can't be there, but we do hold everybody responsible when you can't be there all the time.
Well, some of us may, some of us may not.
Yeah.
Call for the vote.
Okay. I can't get my mic to work. There's too many of them. Okay, now it works. Okay. So the motion is to dismiss. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. That motion carries 8-1 with Commissioner Bloom voting no. That was number 18, correct? Yes. Number 19.
2017-031-101. Complainant purchased a property from a buyer who was represented by respondent. Complainant alleges that the contract he signed to purchase the property stated that there was no security system in place.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, could I refer counsel to the last paragraph?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Council finds no evidence of any violations regarding the allegations in this complaint, but does recommend a civil penalty for unlicensed activity because the respondent's license expired on November 17th, 2016, before this transaction occurred, and has not been renewed according to our licensing database. So the recommendation is a $1,000 civil penalty for unlicensed activity, and there would be wording, cease and desist wording in there.
We have a motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Taylor to accept the recommendation of council. Discussion? Commissioner Wood.
I should have learned by now and pushed the button. Do you know about what this house sold for?
No, I have no idea. I did not pay attention to that on this complaint. But I think I've got the contract.
I mean, here's my issue. We've talked about this before. The problem is, if I'm not mistaken, this person was unlicensed the whole time during the transaction. So they weren't unlicensed for one day. They were unlicensed. I'm going to assume most transactions are about 30 days.
Yes.
That's 30 times 1,000. That's $30,000. I don't think 1,000 is taking care of our unlicensed activity problem. And that's where I think I would like to know what the commission this person earned while they were unlicensed. And if I can do that, then I would like to offer an amendment that the penalty be about 1.5 times what that commission was there. I'll go down from 30,000 to what that, about 1.5 times what that commission was.
So how do we collect it?
I don't know that that's
I know.
our issue. I just don't think
I agree with you.
we've said we're going to get serious about this.
I agree.
And I think this is a way let's get serious about this and stop
Whether we
this
collect
mess.
it or not.
It just showing the number.
The statute defines the act of a broker as somebody who solicits or negotiates or attempts to solicit or negotiate the listing, sale, purchase, exchange, lease, or option, so on and so forth, of real property for another, for a commission. And so I agree with the sentiment, but I would think that we would need to have some kind of evidence of how many times this person solicited or negotiated. We can't assume that every day during the 30 days the person did that, but there could be instances where they did more than one in a day. Mm-hmm. And so my question would be, if we were going to go down this path, what evidence do we have that would support the different instances in which there was a solicitation or a negotiation? And however many of those we could support, I would support finding a violation in each instance. But I don't think we can base it just on the amount of the commission or just on the number of days that occurred.
And that's kind of what we were just talking about. I mean, here we have, she has a
Microphone,
amendment.
please.
Or Erica, you can say it, or Sarah.
She has an amendment to the purchase and sale agreement, so she has some dates that she can nail down to give a period of time, because that's what we were kind of discussing, is that she's going to have those dates and not just a commission amount to, base the civil penalty on. So, I mean, she has dates that she can show based on contracts.
Would that be something we could do today, or do we need to put this off to next month to allow time to look at that?
I mean, we can show two dates right now. The date of the agreement was on 11/2, and it looks like the buyer signed it on 11/27. So
Okay.
we've got at
So
least
there's two.
25 days.
There's
Two-
two actions.
But the
actions,
person
two
didn't
actions.
expire until 11/17, so if they did one on 11/2, that wouldn't count, would it? Or if they expired, were they already in suspension, or?
They expired 11/17, right?
Yeah, they expired 11/17, so the 11.
11/2.
11/2 was while they were licensed.
Well, they were licensed.
Is there more than, I think it's 2 amendments. I'm saying how many amendments there are.
Well, are they still?
When did they close? Did they
Binding
extend
date
it?
would be another day. Anytime anything was, any
Anytime another
dates on there
signature.
past 11/17.
Any new signature?
Binding dates, addendums, any of that.
Of the license.
Okay.
But we have at least 2 counteroffers.
Oh,
That's the
oh,
binding
that's
agreement
fine.
is before that.
Okay, so they got the contract worked out before their license expired. Is that what I just heard?
Well, they had a contract, but then it sounds like maybe there was an addendum that was negotiated after the expiration of the
Right.
license.
And I
Okay.
will say nowhere in the complaint did it ever talk about unlicensed activity, and nowhere in the response did the respondent say anything about them not being licensed. I realized it when I was writing this, and I looked at the expiration date, and I thought, this can't be right. And so I haven't even given the respondent an opportunity to address that, but,
Okay.
does it?
But
Then-
today, they're still unlicensed.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Then let me do this. I'm going to have a stand someday. This is not the one I want to make my stand on. So let's go back to original motion and we'll go on.
Okay, so the motion was to accept the recommendation of the $1,000 civil penalty,
So-
correct?
Cease and
Yeah.
desist.
Yes, with the cease and desist. Chairman Grease.
So, just to be clear, your narrative said license expired on November 17th before this transaction occurred. It sounded like to me the transaction occurred before November 17th.
Yeah, I should have worded that better. So the license expired on November 17th before the closing.
But the transaction had already occurred.
The purchase and sale agreement had been drafted before the expiration.
And you can still get
It's,
paid.
You can still get paid.
You can still get paid.
And the binding agreement date was 14 days before the expiration of
So
the
I'm
license.
going to have a hard time voting for the recommendation if the
Well, I
transaction
think they
occurred.
really should have handed it off because once they were unlicensed, there's still some work to be done to closing. They really should have handed it off, but they
Well, I
can
don't
still
know.
be compensated from the broker.
They can get paid.
Get
but-
paid.
But they shouldn't be acting.
But the work should have been done by somebody else from that point on.
But it's clerical work, right? I don't know if the work to get to closing is anything that the broker's license is needed for.
Well, yeah, if there's amendments.
Well, I don't know that.
The 27th,
Yeah.
There was an
November
amendment
27th.
that Ms. Smith referred to, or Ms. Matthews.
November 27th?
Mhm.
Okay, I didn't have that down. I withdraw my previous comments.
Is the
Okay.
license still in expired status?
Yes.
Yes, when we sent this report, I haven't checked since then, but yes, as of the end of last week, yes.
Okay, the motion is for a $1,000 civil penalty. If there's no further discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, vote no. That motion carries unanimously.
We also included a cease and desist.
Yes, the $1,000 civil penalty plus the cease and desist. That was the motion. Number 20.
2017-031-131. Respondent is the principal broker for the affiliate broker in the complaint above. Respondent's attorney sent a response to the complaint which confirms the facts included in the affiliate broker's response to the complaint and denies failing to supervise the affiliate broker. Counsel finds no evidence that respondent failed to supervise the affiliate broker regarding the specific allegations in the complaint, but does find a failure to make sure the affiliate broker has an active license and recommends a civil penalty, a $1,000 civil penalty for failing to supervise. outside of the complaint.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Wood to accept the recommendation of a $1,000 civil penalty for failure to supervise. Discussion?
This is one where the principal broker should have known. They should know when
Absolutely,
licenses expire.
absolutely.
All right, all those in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 21, please.
2017-031-471. Complainant is a licensee who sent in a screenshot of respondent's post regarding a property to a city's social Facebook page. The complaint alleges that respondent is soliciting buyers for a property that is not listed and fails to identify herself as an agent and does not identify her firm name or firm telephone number. The post reads in part, quote, "Help. Are you a buyer who is looking for a home and you're a patient? Are you looking for a 3-2 with 2,100 square feet and a bonus room for $229,900 in a certain city? If so, we need to talk or have your agent contact me. My sellers are losing the bidding war battles on securing their new home. I haven't listed their home. I'm seeking a buyer that can wait 30 to 60 days contingent. Here are some photos. Please call me or email me directly." And the direct phone number and the work email address were listed, end quote. Respondent states she has never had a complaint since being licensed 13 years ago and holds herself to the highest ethical standards. Regarding the allegation that she is marketing a property that is not listed, respondent refers to the exclusive right to sell listing agreement signed on April 26, 2017, which states under the special stipulations that, quote, "Property will be listed in MLS system once client has contracted on new property. Client authorizes agent to pre-market home to prospective buyers prior to listing in MLS," end quote. Respondent obtained the seller's consent to market the home before listing it in the MLS and is not aware of any rule that prohibits this. Regarding the allegation that respondent fails to identify herself as an agent, respondent states that she genuinely thought her identity as a licensee and her firm's information was common knowledge because such information is an express part of her very identity on Facebook, as contained in her Facebook profile. Respondent's Facebook profile contains the information that she is a licensed agent, her firm name, and her firm telephone number. Respondent provided screenshots of other posts on the same Facebook page that are similar to hers with the same issues and states that her misunderstanding must be a common misunderstanding among other local agents. Respondent redacted specific information as to not reveal who posted the similar post. Respondent also provided a screenshot of complainant's social media pages showing that complainant doesn't list her firm name or firm number, but is not asking to file a complaint against complainant. Respondent states that every post going forward will include a signature line with her name, licensee status, firm name, number, and address. Respondent states she is willing to attend continuing education to become better informed and is willing to help educate other agents in her area to become more informed, especially regarding advertising rules. Counsel finds that the Facebook post shows that respondent did not specifically disclose that she was a licensee, which technically is in violation of Rule 1260-02-.123, but feels it is implied by the wording used in the post. Respondent's post also violated Rule 1260-02-.123F. Additionally, respondent violated Rule 1260-02-.123B1 and 2 by failing to disclose her firm name and phone number. Therefore, counsel recommends a lesser civil penalty for advertising violations and continuing education. So the recommendation is a $500 civil penalty for the violations of 1260-02-.123A and B1 and 2, and then 4 hours completion of the marketing, advertising, and social media compliance course, above and beyond the hours required to be completed within 180 days of the consent order being entered.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
What does listing mean, or listed? Anybody? What does that word
You
mean?
have a signed listing agreement.
Yeah,
From
but
a-
it means
from
to
the
have
owner.
a signed agreement
listing
Yes.
to
in which
sell.
you are representing them as your client to sell their house or
Right.
help
And
them
it
buy
can
a
have any
house.
kind of conditions.
Okay. So when this person says, I haven't listed their home, but they in fact had a contract with, that was a false statement. Is that correct?
I can sign a form to say, I will list your house next month. But in the meantime, I don't have that house listed.
Well, but so in that case, though, you're using the word list, meaning advertise.
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's not going to start being listed till whatever.
They're not
date-
your client for a month.
That's right. Now, you can, I lost my train of thought here.
This is a lot of the coming soons, that's how
Yeah.
it's done.
Yeah, that's how I was looking at it.
But the other thing is the MLS. In our area, you can't put anything into the MLS until you have a signed listing agreement.
Our area also.
But this person, it wasn't, as far as we can tell, it wasn't put into MLS, correct? It was just
Well,
advertised on Facebook.
Wait, retain
At the
seller's
time of this
consent to
complaint.
market the home before listing it in the MLS and is not aware of any rule that prohibits this. Well, it certainly should be aware of a law that prohibits it, because the MLS, you can't put a house in there without and then it comes up as a number. Let's say I list 123 Main Street. When I put it in, and I have to have my paperwork to put it in legally, then it comes up with an MLS number once you put it in.
But
So
that's an
the
MLS
only
rule,
time.
not law.
That's an MLS rule, but you still have to have a signed agreement with somebody to have put it in there.
How I would explain it, how I do it. I mean, the listing.
You got it.
The listing is when I get that piece of paper signed. Now, we could say, I'm listing it today, but we're going to agree, we're not going to start marketing for another month. And marketing could be a sign in the yard, it could be the multiple listing service, but the listing is when I get at Facebook, but the listing is when I get the piece of paper signed.
Be ready, but I'm going to sign it as of that date, because once you sign it, it has to go in the MLS within a certain time.
Okay.
Unless you agree.
We're getting too nitpicky here.
Yeah.
Which their listing agreement,
Yeah.
did have those
They
special.
did that. So either this person had a listing agreement and made a false statement when they said, I haven't listed their home, or they didn't have a listing agreement, in which case, why were they out representing on Facebook that these were their sellers?
And
Right.
special stipulations on that second page, property will be listed in the MLS system once client has contracted on new property. So they did not have a listing.
I'm trying to figure out, is there a difference between listing and advertising?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. But so they did have a listing, they just hadn't advertised it yet.
No, she doesn't have a signed listing. Or he.
I would say she did. And
They signed it on
the listing agreement
4/26.
said not put it in the MLS until they.
No, yes, they definitely had a signed listing agreement before she put this on Facebook, which specifically stated it wasn't going to go on the MLS until there was a new contract, I believe.
What Bobby has said has made the most sense to me, where he distinguished listing from advertising or listing from marketing. And so there was listing meaning that there is now a relationship that has been formed between a licensee and a consumer.
A contract.
And you can talk about it, but it's not going to start until.
The owner says start.
And my question was, Erica, the date of the post that started all this, was that after 4/26?
Yes. I don't know the exact date of the post, but I do know
Doesn't
that it
matter,
was.
as long as it was after.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it says client authorizes agent to pre-market the
That-
home. I don't understand the word pre-market. There's just marketing, but it was being marketed before on Facebook before it was marketed on MLS.
Right.
Pre-marketing, but that's marketing. And it was that the client authorized the agent, meaning that there was the client-agent relationship, which my understanding is that's what listing means. You have a client-agent relationship, right?
And I think they put it on
Okay.
social media. Here you can, here's some information on it before we list it. with
Oh, and it
more
was
of a
very
fib.
specific
Yeah,
information.
it was
Yeah.
more of a fib to try to, like, hey, you got some insider information if you call me. I mean,
Yes, yes, I
All
definitely.
2 billion people that are on Facebook does.
And I think when the respondent said, I haven't listed it yet, I think she was meaning, I have not put it on the MLS yet.
I think so too.
So really saying, I have not advertised it on the listing services yet. I don't think she meant to lie or act like she didn't have an agreement or anything. And she just really did show a ton of proof that this is happening all over the place. And I loved that she came up with the fact that she wanted to be educated and she wanted to help educate people in her area. I don't know.
Well, we don't care if everybody's doing something wrong, we don't care.
No, I
That doesn't
know.
sway our
It's still
opinions.
wrong.
But we
No.
care,
We do
but-
care.
Yeah, we care, but the complaint is against this person.
Right, right.
Okay.
Do we
I'm
have
sorry
a
that I
motion?
sent us down that rabbit hole, but it helped me to understand what that word means.
think
So do we have a
we-
motion?
I'd like to make a motion to dismiss.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Douglas to dismiss. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Horn. Discussion? Let's vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no.
No.
Let's have a roll call vote, please, Ms. Maxwell.
Gary Bloom,
The motion is to dismiss. Are you voting yes or no?
Oh, no.
Rick Douglas,
Yes.
Marcia Franks,
No.
Diane Hills,
No.
Johnny Horn, Austin McMullen,
Yes.
Fontaine Taylor, Bobby Wood, John Grease.
That motion fails 4 yes, 5 no, with Douglas, Horn, McMullen, and Grease voting yes. Is there another motion? Ms. Taylor.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Bloom to accept council's recommendation. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed vote no.
No.
That motion passes 6-3 with McMullen, Wood, and Douglas voting no. Number 22, please.
2017-031491. Respondent is the principal broker for the affiliate broker in the complaint above. Respondent entered into a contract with the affiliate broker to work as an independent contractor with his firm on May 4th, 2009. This contract specifically stated that all advertising must be submitted to respondent for approval before being posted or used in any way, and also included a copy of the Trek advertising rules and guidelines. Respondent explains that he supports his agents by providing educational opportunities throughout the year to ensure they are aware of applicable rules and regulations, including updates and potential changes. Respondent requires agents to attend the Trek Core course every 2 years and meets with agents throughout the year at his office to discuss rules changes and to address questions. Respondent is not sure what else he could have done to have prevented the affiliate broker's actions and denies that he failed to supervise her, as he cannot monitor all printed and internet material 24/7, especially when it is not something that is on his website, social media pages, or directly related to his firm. Counsel finds no evidence that respondent failed to supervise the affiliate broker regarding the allegations in the complaint, because respondent posted to a city's social Facebook page without his knowledge or consent. And I'm sorry, because affiliate broker posted to a city's social Facebook page without the respondent's knowledge or consent as agreed to in the employment contract. Therefore, my recommendation is to dismiss.
Move to accept.
Motion by Commissioner Bloom, seconded by Commissioner Taylor to accept the recommendation to dismiss. Discussion. All in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously.
And then Sarah was kind enough to find an answer for our questions.
Okay, let's go back to number 15. We had a motion by Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Taylor to accept the recommendation of a $1,000 civil penalty
plus the 4,000 civil penalty for the same reasons as was imposed on the affiliate. So that would have been for a total of 5,000. Do you have some additional information for us, Ms. Matthews?
Principal broker is expired. Melissa.
Their license has expired?
Yes.
Okay.
Their license has expired, not the principal broker expired.
As far as we know.
The firm license had also expired in September of 2017, and there's been no action taken to bring that license back out of renewal, out of expired status.
I believe one of the questions was the affiliate brokers.
Only this affiliate and the principal broker are associated with that firm license.
Okay, thank you. Does that change anyone's opinion, or is there any additional discussion based on that new information? Does anybody want to talk about anything else on this before we vote? Okay, the motion is for the $5,000 civil penalty. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Ms. Smith, thank you for your work. That brings to a conclusion the legal report. Mr. Chairman.
Sarah, do you have anything else?
I do not have anything for you all today.
Well, that's good. And Erica, you're finished, is that right?
Yes.
Does any commissioner have other or additional business to come before us today? You had a statement you wanted to make, Caitlin? About?
You were off there. Okay. Yes, just sort of after thinking through some of the discussions from earlier in regards to some of the Facebook things that we are seeing as far as cloud-based firms and whatnot, I was just going to urge that since you're 9 commission members out of a whole state, that we allow the public to file that complaint. As if there's truly an issue, then the public should file the complaint. That's all that I was going to say.
And is there some reason you're saying that? What's your
I
reasoning?
think that we have gotten some guidance that commission members should allow the public to file the complaints, and other members of the industry. I think part of the thought is that you're the one regulating, and the complaints are coming before you. And like I said, there's at least 30,000 other licensees and many other Tennessee citizens and other citizens that interact with the state of Tennessee. And so since we're a small, very small percentage, we should allow the public and other members of the industry to file complaints that are negatively affecting the public and other licensees.
So the thought is, ultimately, we're the jury, and we shouldn't be the police as well.
True.
Which I find hard. Sometimes it's very hard for me to see something that's obviously a violation and not feel like I should. If I don't report it, it seems to me, then what am I doing to support the rules and the statutes? But I understand.
For instance, we had a principal broker before us, and something just wouldn't, we could just tell something wasn't right, and I started asking her about her escrow account, and she didn't do the escrow account. One of her secretaries, and long story short, she sat there and in 5 minutes got herself in more trouble than probably anybody's ever come before us. And so the attorney at that time said that we should, and right there in front of her, the commission filed charges against that person.
Well, at the very least, we sent an investigator.
Right, we sent it to an investigator.
Did that. Anyhow, we'll take your advice.
It's just recommendation.
Under
I
advisement.
clearly can't stop anybody. But.
All right. Commissioner Horn, I just want to compliment you on the fine job you've done hosting this commission, and it's one of its road trips this year, and we appreciate your input. Wish you well on your knee replacement next month. And I need to know more about those cows at some point, okay?
That don't eat grass?
The cows that don't eat grass.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you can send me a memo on that, maybe.
Well, I'll bring you up to date on it. Anyway, I would like to say that
Pull your microphone down just a little bit, sir.
that I have enjoyed everybody here. And I told you in Nashville, if you wasn't sure whether you want to go to heaven or not, come to Chattanooga. So I think most of you made up your mind. But anyway, y'all go home safe, come again, and it's a joy to be a part of this commission.
Thank you, Johnny. Rick, on the other end of the table, any comments?
Sure. I've really enjoyed the one day that we were able to spend here. I mean, everybody, from the mayor to the local association, everybody's been very hospitable, and it's just been a joy. I enjoyed the dinner last night, getting to know some of the people in the local association, and it's been a great time. I've really enjoyed it.
And I believe it's a two-way street. I think they probably enjoyed getting to know you as well and knowing this body collectively and individually. Fontaine?
I agree. Chattanooga has showed us great hospitality, and I always enjoy coming here, and it's been a wonderful time, and I thank everybody for putting on their welcoming hat to us. It's been great.
Thank you, Fontaine. Bobby?
I like coming to Chattanooga. I got a son up at Covenant College, so it was nice to get to see him and put my eyes on him one time again like that. So I enjoyed that. But I'm a big Chattanooga fan. We have for years. Chattanooga. I've told people when I was early on in my life, I'm not so sure Chattanooga was a great place to go to. But as we had our kids and they grew up, I mean, there's so many neat things from the aquariums to the science museums and IMAX. I mean, we spent a lot of time here, and then as the kids came through sports, I mean, we'd come and play tennis tournaments here, and there's always stuff for the kids to do. And my wife has always said she loves Middle Tennessee, but if we had to go somewhere, she thinks it would be Chattanooga is where we'd want to go. So I love Chattanooga. Thank you.
Marcia?
Yeah, just ditto on the hospitality. The dinner last night was fabulous, and making new friends last night was wonderful. The facilities wonderful. The hotel was great. It was all a good time, and I was glad that Austin was able to come too. So I like it when we're all together. I think we do well when we're all together.
Gary?
Well, the crazy thing is, the farther east I go...
Push your button here, sir.
The crazy thing is, the farther east I go, the better I like it, and I live all the way in the west. But Chattanooga is a great experience, and they've pulled out the red carpet for us. I appreciate that. I do have a question for Johnny, though. I saw the other day a brown cow eating green grass, giving white milk.
No, the milk was supposed to be chocolate.
All right, Diane.
Ditto on all the hospitality, and I enjoy coming down here, except I didn't know what I was doing, and I was heading to Nashville yesterday. So anyways,
Is that the end of your comment?
Yeah, it should be. But I enjoy being with everybody, but John's been on a long trip, and enjoy watching John being on a long trip, and Gary on a long trip, and Marsha on a long trip. Everybody's been on these trips. Yeah, I was going to Nashville, to Chattanooga yesterday.
She was tripping yesterday.
Yes, but I enjoy it very much, and I enjoy being with this body too. So I appreciate everyone. Thank you.
Diane. Austin?
Ditto what everybody else said, and thanking everyone for the hospitality. Johnny, I appreciate your work and helping to coordinate things, and also I appreciate all the work that staff did in taking the show on the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Let me just say two quick things. First of all, I thought we may have set a new record today for close votes on different cases, which I think is good. I mean, the fact that each of you is thinking individually and putting your own opinion in and your own vote in is great. We're not here to rubber stamp each other, but we're also not here to take it personally if we happen to be on the losing side, which I was most of the time today. But I think it's good. It's a compliment to each of you. Caitlin, Sarah, Erica, thank you for what you all have done. We did it with a skeleton crew, sort of, right? No paralegals. You had to make a phone call or two, but I thought it worked out great. And remember, the state law requires us to meet in each grand division at least once a year. That's not to say, Gary, if you really like Chattanooga, we could come back again.
Yeah.
I mean, we might have a little problem with the administration, but I think it's a possibility. So anyhow, I hope you all be safe going home. Sorry we didn't take a lunch break. On the other hand, I'm really glad we didn't take a lunch break. Let's get out of here and be careful.
Thank
Caitlin, don't go away. Don't go away, and I'm gonna call.
But, hey, Fontaine wants his time.
Let's, hey Caitlin, what can we do to help now as far as? Don't give me that crap. Let's get your trash here for. Thank you, Mike. Congratulations.
Yeah, did he tell you about the,
What can we help you with?
no.
Well, you know, I think I want to take this good and hold it. Well, you know, I think I want to take this good and hold it. Well, you know, I think I want to take this good and hold it. Well, you know, I think I want to take this good and hold it. Well, you know, I think I want to take this good and hold it. Well, you know, I think I want to take this good and hold it. Well, you know, I think I want to take this good and hold it. Well, you know, I think I want to take this good and hold it. Well, you know, I think I want to take this good and hold it. Well, you know, I think I want to take this good and hold it. Well, you know, I think I want to take this good and hold it.